Walker Stadium, and there's always plenty of juice at the old ballpark, maybe more so when Texas is in town. Arkansas Razorbacks attempt to sweep a 3-game series from the #1 ranked Longhorns. Take a look at the SEC standings. Texas inching maybe a little bit closer to clinching at 19-4, but Arkansas within striking distance at 16-7, and a lot of really good teams behind them jumbled up in the middle. Let's welcome you up to the booth. It's good to be back. Brett Dolan, Troy Eklund, thanks for joining us. Arkansas had a 6-1 win last night. They clinched the series W, and Troy, really it's been the Razorbacks pitching that has stolen the show.
Yeah, the starters have really set the tone. Zach Root, Gage Wood, they were outstanding. And again, the relievers came in through really well. Root was just almost unhittable. Went 8 innings, only gave up 2 hits. Look at the numbers right there. How about 29 strikeouts by Arkansas pitching in just 2 games?
Troy, Arkansas is trying to get better quality starts in the last few weeks and longer starts. They've received both so far.
Yeah, I think so. You know, Gage Wood was on a pitch count, but the relievers have done great. Gabe Gackle, Aiden Jimenez looked really strong.
And Texas has had a hard time keeping guys off the bases. They have walked or hit 20. Arkansas has taken advantage, and really, Troy, what Arkansas has done is just limit the free passes.
Yeah, I think so. You can see those 20 free passes, 5 hit batters and 9 walks in the game yesterday. Really surprising that game was only a 61 spread.
It's the #1 ERA team in the SEC. Offensively, Jim Schlossnagel looking for some runs. Mendoza, Galvan, Flores, and Schussler, the top 4. Again, Texas has struck out 29 times this weekend. Maybe a hug from the umpire will help. But on the hill today for Arkansas is Landon Beidelshees.
Yeah, I think the key for Landon Beidelshees today is keep the ball down. The wind is really blowing out straight to center field. You can see the numbers on Beidelshees right there, not overpowering. Again, he's got to hit his spots. This is a very good offensive team for the Longhorns, and they really want to break out in this game 3.
Feels like Sunday, but it's Saturday. It is game 3 of this series. Arkansas going for the sweep. Texas trying to lower its magic number to 3 on a 66-degree afternoon. Still a little bit cool. Mother Nature must have thought this series is over. She's trying to cooperate for one of the few times. Wins out of the Northwest at 12. And Texas, for the first time all season, they lost a series after 13 straight series victories. Obviously don't want to get swept, and we'll see what offense they can generate early. And this is Ethan Mendoza, the DH.
Yeah, one thing against this for this Longhorn lineup coming into this series, Brett, they only hit 255 off of left-handers, hit 302 against righties.
Might be one of the reasons why Beidelshees is back in there. He was not listed as the starter until last night. We're ready and underway with ball 1. Our plate umpire is Scott Klein. Chuck Pack umpires at first, Eric Malika at second, Steve Mattingly at third. Beidelshees will wind and pitch, missing a little bit down. Arkansas came into this weekend having lost 3 straight SEC series for the first time since 2016, and there were a couple of reasons why Arkansas has not been able to win sets. Troy, they were no longer invincible on Fridays, and they were losing games on Sunday, just not being able to execute and keep the runs down from their opponents. Well, they won on Friday, they won on Saturday, but now they're looking for a better finish to a series.
Yeah, I think so. And again, so far this weekend for Arkansas, the starting pitching has been spot on.
But Beidelshees, a 4-pitch walk to Mendoza to begin things, and if you're Texas, you'd like to take advantage of some free passes and base runners.
Get only 5 walks for Arkansas in the last 2 ball games. Leadoff man on for the Horns. That's a good start for Texas. They, like you said, they want to capitalize.
This is Rylan Galvan. Homered yesterday. It's the only run that Texas has produced in the series, and it barely cleared the fence and left, but it counts the same. 13 long balls on the year. 6th in the conference in slugging percentage. Beidelshees pitched a couple of innings at Florida last weekend as he misses outside and gave up a couple of hits. couple of runs, and DVH took him out early, Troy, and he just felt like he wasn't putting guys away and was not sharp. Curious to see what this first inning looks like after that leadoff walk.
Yeah, I think so. He needs to really, when he gets 2 strikes, make that pitch that can wipe the guys out.
Is that a swing? Our plate umpire, Scott Klein, says yes, no appeal. That was a big part of last night's game. And the count 1-2.
Galvan does all he can do to hold that bat back, and now he's in a hole 1-2.
Beidelshees gets the wave of the miss. Helfrich doesn't catch it cleanly. No need to tag Galvan. So a walk and a K to begin things.
Nice comeback for Beidelshees right there. You talked about trying to put hitters away for Beidelshees. That's a pitch out of the zone that you're going to have a lot of success if you get a swing on that one.
Jalen Flores, the shortstop, next man in. 0 for 8 so far this weekend. 18 doubles, 10 homers on the season.
Brett, Texas will run a little bit, 53 for 71 in stolen bases. With the wind blowing out, I think you're going to see that both teams are going to keep those runners put on first base quite a bit. Both these catchers can really throw as well.
Ball's lifted in the air to left center field and starting to carry. Thomas Jr. back, and he'll make the catch with just a little bit of room to spare. Mendoza has to hustle back to first. I don't know if the balls carry quite the way it normally has this weekend. We have seen a lot of fly balls to the warning track and to the fence.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was just mishit, but I'm predicting there's going to be some balls flying out of the yard today. It's a pretty stiff breeze out to center field.
Sure, Mother Nature couldn't give us another 3 or 4 inches of rain, or maybe a twister or a mudslide or a hurricane or an earthquake.
Some kind of natural disaster.
She has been evil this year, especially during home series. You don't want to move up another day and play a doubleheader or play a doubleheader on a Sunday. Anything else we can mix in for you?
I tell you that there's a lot of teams across the league that got games postponed last night.
Sure did.
Really hurt Tennessee and Auburn. They just barely got the first inning, not even the full first inning in.
Burn their starter, Liam Doyle, and this is Kimball Schuessler. Batting cleanup for the first time. 0 for 7 this weekend. The way I look at it, Mother Nature owes everybody some great weather in a couple of weeks when Tennessee is here, and then of course during the regionals and maybe supers. Poked out to right center field. Bowles was playing deep, and it works out. Just glides to his right, makes the catch. A leadoff walk on 4 pitches, but Mendoza does not advance, and Arkansas coming into bat.
With hundreds of sales every week, eat well for less at Whole Foods Market.
An accused rapist, murderer, and child pornographer. All illegal aliens caught because of President Trump's leadership. I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. And if you're here illegally, you will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. But if you register using our CBP Home app and you leave now, you could come back. Under President Trump, America will be protected.
Summer's here, and with a new Toyota, you can go from here all the way to here. Made it.
Qualified lessees can lease a new 2025 Tundra SR5 for $489 a month for 36 months. Toyota, let's go places.
Another jam-packed hog pen in Baum-Walker Stadium, trending for about 34,000 this weekend. Well, the starter for the Longhorns this afternoon is Max Grubbs.
Yeah, Grubbs is going to get the start for the Longhorns today. See the numbers on Grubbs, really good strikeout to walk ratio, 3-1, getting a punch out almost every inning. He'll be 90-92. Opponent's only hitting 213 off Grubbs. He's really good against right-handers, only 173 against Grubbs.
Arkansas's lineup similar. Davidan, the Eloys, Kojal, Iredale, Bowles, Robinette back at first with Frazier and Souza out. Helfrich catching, Thomas Jr. in center. And this is Davidan, 1 for 9 so far this weekend. He and Vahiva Aloy still 1-2 in the conference in both runs scored and hits. Davalon chasing Vahiva. 2-0 the count from Grubbs. And Troy, I'm curious to see this splitter from Grubbs and how this pitch has allowed him to have a little more success even as of late.
Yeah, that's really good. And several of these Texas Longhorn pitchers have picked up that pitch this season. And got Max Weiner, the pitching coach, and he does a great job with this staff. You know, again, the best staff in the conference. And again, that was always the hardest pitch for me to hit, was a guy that had a really good splitter.
The staff has given up just 32 homers all year. I think Grubbs really wanted that 2-0 pitch. He gets the 3-0 offering. But Grubbs, with his first start this season, he finished last year as Texas's Friday starter. 5-4, an ERA sub-4 in that role. And much like the top of the first, the bottom of the frame begins with a walk.
Brett, we talk about splits. We did what Texas had. Arkansas against right-handers is hitting 303, much better against lefties, 356. So, again, you can kind of understand why each coaching staff is going with which hand pitcher in this game 3.
The Hawaiian Lays come out as Vahiva Aloy steps in. 17 home runs on the season for Vahiva. That is second in the conference. And Troy, that is the most by a Razorback since Heston Kjerstad hit 17 homers in 2019. Had there been a 2020 campaign, Kjerstad might have hit 40.
Yeah, he was absolutely on fire. And it would have been really interesting to see how that season progressed. And that nasty thing called COVID got in the way.
Aloy takes that one a little bit out. He leads this team in OPS. Obviously had a lot of success leading the conference in base hits.
Texas defense not playing a big shift for Aloy, pretty straight in the outfield.
Chopper fouled outside of third. Rick Nomura, former Arkansas Razorback from Hawaii, is going to join us a little bit later on in the telecast.
He kind of started the Hawaiian trend for Arkansas.
Sure did. Look what he started. Everybody's participating with the props, young and old alike. 2-1 to Vahiva. Drifts just a little bit off the corner.
Well, that's the difference in the 25 campaign than the 24 campaign for Vahiva Aloy. He swings at that pitch probably 10 out of 10 times a season ago, and you can see the patience and the confidence of the Arkansas shortstop.
Hitters count for Vahiva. Davalon's going to run, wave it a miss. The throw is a little bit high, and Davalon gets his 7th base. He was spinning his wheels when he took off. I thought he was in trouble. Maybe a little bit of wet ground at first, and he was able to stay on his feet, and a high throw from Galvan helped.
Yeah, I think so. You see, he really didn't get the great break, but that ball kind of sailed on Galvan, and Davalon just got under.
So the count is full to Vahiva. Grubbs a long pause before the payoff, and back-to-back walks. Troy, for a pitching staff that is #1 in the conference in earned run average, this has to be a maddening weekend with the number of walks and hit by pitches.
Yeah, you really think so. There's a good look at Max Weiner. Does such a great job, like I said, with this staff. And you know, it's going to be one of those weekends that sometimes it just doesn't go your way, and then there's a lot of baseball left to play today. But so far, the free passes for the Texas Longhorn pitching staff has been completely uncharacteristic.
See the ERA 3rd in the country. Kahio Aloy takes a breaking ball for a strike. Kahio knocked in 3 runs on an 0-2 pitch last night, a bases clearing double. 63 RBIs, best in the SEC, and it's 10 more than any other Razorback, but he quickly finds himself down 0-2.
That's just a great job by Max Grubbs. He lands the breaking ball on the outside corner for the take, and then he goes a little bit farther out. You might see him go well off the plate right here.
3-pitch K. So Grubbs gets right back in this inning after the 2 walks with a strikeout.
Man, really good slider cutter right there by Max Grubbs. He didn't really waste That pitch right there went right at Kahio Aloy. Hey, if you're a right-handed hitter, this is one of those days that you really want to kind of think up the middle the other way, the way that wind's blowing out. Anything to right center is going to carry out.
Cam Kojal batting cleanup. One hit in the series, but it was a homer off the top of the scoreboard back on Thursday night in Game 1.
I think that's a good sign for Texas, with Grubbs getting ahead on the last two batters. When you walk two and then you come back and get that first pitch strike, it really kind of sets the tone for that at-bat.
Kojal's going to lift one down the line and left, and it'll be in the well-populated seats and out of play. Fan must have made a nice catch. It was a Savannah Bananas game. Kojal would be out. I want to see somebody bringing the glove and being ready to go, and that young man was
And he
ready.
has the ball in the other hand, too.
Yeah, that was outstanding. I mean, that's a leaning catch.
That ball almost came back into fair territory. I mean, excuse me, into play. So the way this wind's blowing, it's going to keep balls that blow out of the stands.
Another one fouled back by Kojal.
How about Kojal on the year, hitting .463 with runners in scoring position.
He's back at second base. He's hitting cleanup. He's going to wave and miss. Back-to-back walks followed by back-to-back Ks.
That looked like the splitter right there. That had some really nice movement. Let's see if it's a splitter or the cutter. No, that's going to be a cutter. You can see the fingers kind of get on top of that baseball.
Well, he's had some good movement, though. And a couple of pitches to both Aloy and Kojal.
Nothing's coming in straight out of the right arm of Max Grubbs, that's for sure.
Well, in the first two games of this series, the man who drove in the first runs has been Brent Iredale, up to 53 RBIs with 3 this weekend. You see the home runs, Troy, 12. All 12 of those have come at Baum Walker. And for all this conversation about this rivalry between Texas and Arkansas going in the Wayback Machine, the Southwest Conference, and now in the SEC, you could expect the Australian not to completely understand it. He was posed that question last night by the writers, if there's anything home that will compare. And he started talking about the Bulldogs, and I wasn't sure what he was talking about. It was rugby.
Okay.
Yeah. So apparently there's some spirited rugby rivalries back home that he compares to maybe Arkansas and Texas.
I bet some of those games could get sideways in a hurry.
3-0 though to Iredale.
I'd turn him loose right here.
Would have been a pitch to hit. Took a strike at 90. Iredale kind of fought his way out of a little bit of a skid in the last few weeks. Well, that pitch has just enough movement to miss the bat, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And the thing that makes that cutter so tough is it's about 2/3 of the plate before it even has any movement. It's coming out of the hand, the same tunnel, looks like a fastball, and just like you said, it's not a huge sweeper.
Threw it again. Leaned on that cutter. Couple of walks followed by 3 straight strikeouts. So a good finish from Grubbs, and we're off and rolling from Baum Walker.
Businesses are the backbone of our communities. And Bank of America is the best bank for small and medium-sized businesses. With over 3,700 dedicated business specialists across the nation, we're on your corner and in your corner. Because when businesses prosper, communities thrive. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Contact one of our local business specialists at bankofamerica.com/local business.
An accused rapist, murderer, and child pornographer. All illegal aliens caught because of President Trump's leadership. I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. And if you're here illegally, you will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. But if you register using our CBP Home app and you leave now, you could come back. Under President Trump, America will be protected.
Couple of coaches this weekend weekend that have enjoyed a lot of success. Jim Schlossnagle, runner-up with A&M last year, 7 College World Series appearances, trying to take his 3rd team to Omaha. And, of course, DVH, 9 career men's College World Series appearances, runner-up back in 2018. Schloss on the left, on the right, amateur meteorologist and Weather Channel aficionado Dave Van Horn. He's been locked in this week with all the weather and how the atmosphere is going to change, how the ball carries. Here at Baumwalker.
Avid tree planter too.
Well, he was focusing on the weather in Springfield on Tuesday because Arkansas's game had been postponed the day before, and I think really that was a benefit. Jim Schlossnagle said it, DVH said it. They didn't have to trek to Springfield, able to have an off day. They practiced, and they've come out much sharper this weekend. Gasparino with a count of 1-1 takes one down and in from Beidelshees.
Yeah, I think that it was almost like a bye week for a football team that Arkansas had that luxury not playing on Tuesday. Texas played Prairie View A&M, and sometimes if you're struggling a little bit, you can kind of right the ship on those midweek games. But again, you have to get up, you have to get ready. It's just you don't get that extra practice time.
You do not. Gasparino 0 for 5 with a walk this weekend. Earlier this year had a 34-game on-base streak, which ended about a week ago. And the 2-2. In the air to left. I don't know if Davalon saw it immediately. He's got the sunglasses on. A couple of staggers. Unable to make the catch. Well, you talk about individuals who have had a lot of postseason success without winning the big one. Mike Martin, we talked about him for a long time. DVH trying to get that national championship. So same for Jim Schlossnagle. Jim had the heartbreak last year, losing Game 3 at A&M in Omaha. Arkansas knows that feeling well from 2018 as Casey Borba will bunt and bunt foul. And Troy spent a lot of time in Houston, and the Houston Cougars lost the men's national championship game a few weeks ago, and they've never won a national championship. And there was a line, I think, from Kirk Bowles in the Houston Chronicle. I think it applies to both of these coaches. It said, apparently heartbreak has no statute of limitations.
Yeah, I think
because
that's
you don't
true.
forget those moments where you get just so close.
Just get right there, and you just feel like both these coaches are going to get theirs for sure. It's not if, but when.
Casey Borba, though, has struggled against left-handed pitching this year. A couple of hits this series. His dad was the longtime baseball coach at Orange Lutheran, which meant that he was the head baseball coach for Gabe Frazier, an Arkansas second baseman who's not been able to play this weekend with a back and a shoulder issue. But Dad coached a lot of baseball in SoCal. I think both of these teams, though, when we talk about these coaches, are positioned to be highly ranked as national seeds. Obviously, they're the top 2 teams in the SEC, and that magic number for Texas has been hanging out there at 4. Obviously, a win today, and there's a great path for Texas to win another SEC championship. And for a team that was picked 8th preseason, Troy, that would be a pretty amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, and also when you have a team that has got their best hitter that's not playing, and they lost their best pitcher.
Friday starter, yeah.
I tell you what, both these teams are going through the injury bug, and it really changes the complexion. You get Ballou back to this lineup, and it completely changes the offense of Texas.
3-2 is a chopper going foul. And obviously Texas came in, they began this weekend at 38-5. And for the Longhorns, it was their best 43-game start in more than 2 decades. And they're chasing that mark of 26 wins in the conference by Vandy. And I know they're hopeful of getting Ballou back soon. Spencer's out for the year. But there is a formula, though, for this Texas team to win, Troy. It's real good pitching. They're not a big offensive team. Came in 11th in batting average, 10th in homers, 10th in RBIs. And Jim Schlossnagle was going over that formula with us. You know, you got to play in clean defense, got to pitch well, some timely hits. They've come back. They've won a lot of one-run games, but that formula just hasn't worked this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. They've ran into a couple buzzsaws in starting pitching for Arkansas, but you're right. I think the biggest point of that was timely hitting.
Popped up to first. Robinette there. No Texas runners sprinting off the bases this time, and Borba retired, and there's 2 outs. And, you know, Arkansas, Maxwell hasn't played this weekend with the hammy. They're on their 3rd second baseman, and they're on their 3rd first baseman. 2 of their top 3 relievers are out with Wiggins and Coyle, and maybe Coyle will be back soon. I'd almost rather be Arkansas right now than Texas, considering they've got to get Ballou back and find a little more offense.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, most teams have got, deeper staffs in pitching than they do offense, and just kind of how the college game is built. And it's going to even get more that way with a smaller roster. But, yeah, the injuries are big. But, again, I think pitchers can bounce back and have bigger impact, quicker than hitters do.
Adrian Rodriguez. It's a count of 1-1. Couple of hits this weekend, a big homer Sunday to lift Texas to another 1-run win against A&M. But Troy, again, maybe to finish that thought, Texas came in 19-2 to start SEC play, tied for the best 21-game start over several decades. But the other 2 teams to win 19 of their first 21 games, Vanderbilt in 2013, Tennessee in 2022. Neither of those teams made the College World Series. That's a wave and a miss. Rodriguez down on strikes. She's with a perfect second. Maybe a pitcher's duel on a windy day at Von Walker.
With hundreds of sales every week, eat well for less at Whole Foods Market.
An accused rapist, murderer, and child pornographer. All illegal aliens caught because of President Trump's leadership. I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. And if you're here illegally, you will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. But if you register using our CBP Home app and you leave now, you could come back. Under President Trump, America will be protected.
We asked people who said they've had Domino's stuffed crust pizza before to compare it to our new stuffed crust.
That's better than the one they have currently.
Only Domino's has never had stuffed crust before.
Are you serious?
Until now. Introducing Domino's new and first ever stuffed crust pizza. Try one for the first time tonight.
This is phenomenal.
Well, a series that was interrupted for a long time due to the fact these teams weren't in the same conference. They met in Omaha in 2018. Texas came through here several years back for a midweek set. Last conference series was 1991. The last time Arkansas won a series on a weekend against the Longhorns, 1989 until this weekend.
I think I remember that weekend.
Carson Bowles leads off the bottom of the second against Max Grubbs, and he'll wave and miss at the fastball. Bowles has reached base in 15 straight games. That's hard to do, not playing on a regular basis, but a homer in this series as well, one of his 2.
Well, I tell you what, Max Grubbs has got a dandy slider cutter. That pitch is absolutely filthy. I was watching him in between innings. I think he threw like 6 different versions of pitches. It was pretty crazy.
Tell you what, it is tight, it's late, it moves enough that these hitters have been locked up, and Bowles down on strikes. That is 4 straight strikeouts after he walked the first 2 that he faced.
Yeah, tight I think is the right word for that. And it's got a lot of vertical depth to it. And then against righties, he can also throw the fastball that runs down and in. So he covers all 4 quadrants of the strike zone.
Reese Robinette, the big healthy wave and a miss. Reese has had 4 at-bats and a hit in this series. But obviously, Grubbs, even though he's been utilized differently this year than from last with a different staff, a 1.40 earned run average, 6 earned runs in almost 40 innings. And this might be a long afternoon for these Arkansas bats if Grubbs continues to command that cutter. 2-strike pitch. Hard on the ground to second. Rodriguez way back out there will make the play and throw out Robinette. Rodriguez is a switch thrower. He'll throw right-handed from second base or different positions. If he needs to play first, though, he'll throw left-handed.
That's pretty slick. I think he's done that from a very young age, and there's not many people that can do that, especially with any kind of velocity.
Ryder Helfrich. Couple of hits this weekend, right below 300. Hits a chopper foul. You know, you think about hitting at Baumwalker, and it's a good place to hit. Ryder, though, is at 405 at home, which is a big-time number. And then again, as a team, Arkansas has 8 different players hitting 347 at home, and that's in 32 games. But Ryder's at the very top at 405.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about just your routine as a player when you're at home. You're sleeping in your own bed. It just seems like, you know, the batter's eye, you're so used to the field and picking up pitches off that batter's eye, and different fields have, you know, it just can look a little bit different.
I think there's a lot of comfort, obviously, hitting at home. And Arkansas plays a bulk of their games here. I mean, they have only played 12 road games all season, as have the Longhorns. Coming into this weekend, Texas had lost only 1 road game all year, and they had to play 15 innings to do so at Kentucky. Hard on the ground to third. Borba's got it. He'll throw out Helfrich. That's a perfect frame for Grubbs. Haven't had a hit yet through 2 innings here at Baumwalker in the series finale.
With low prices store-wide, eat well for less at Whole Foods Market.
An accused rapist, murderer, and child pornographer. All illegal aliens caught because of President Trump's leadership. I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. And if you're here illegally, you will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. But if you register using our CBP Home app and you leave now, you could come back. Under President Trump, America will be protected.
Summer's here, and with a new Toyota, you can go from here all the way to here. Made it.
Qualified lessees can lease a new 2025 Tundra SR5 for $489 a month for 36 months. Toyota, let's go places.
Got Anthony Black
I
in the
believe so.
ballpark. Orlando Magic. Coach Cal's here someplace as well. There he is. All the celebs out for this weekend.
Everybody knows it's a big game.
Indeed. You know, I think ESPN's done a great job showcasing Baumwalker Stadium and these tremendous crowds over the last couple of days on national TV. I've heard from several people watching around the country just kind of mesmerized by the crowds here to see Texas and Arkansas. Tommy Farmer IV is going to lead things off. Back on Thursday, though, this was the 1,000th collegiate baseball game played at Baumwalker Stadium. Wow. There have been 970 Arkansas games. There have been 30 regional games that didn't involve the Razorbacks. So on Thursday, it was an even 1,000.
1,000. Very cool.
How many free hamburgers and hot dogs have you had during that run?
More than I like to admit.
Probably plenty. As Farmer waves and misses. Farmer 0 for 6 this weekend.
I think both these programs have such a long history, and their fan bases are both great. They expect their teams to play well and get deep into the postseason.
Wave and a miss. She's a K, and some genius to my right was predicting all kinds of homers and runs. We haven't had a hit.
It always happens. You know, the wind's blowing out. You think it's going to be 10-8, and then the pitchers just get something else in their mind and, you know, throw ghost balls up there.
Hitters have not enjoyed facing either of these two pitchers to this point. Jonah Williams is going to turn 18 years old 2 weeks from today. 17 years old. Missed his prom last weekend, Troy, because he was playing.
It's a good place to be, though, if you're going to play some college baseball and college football.
17 years young. daughter turned 19 today, so inching a little bit closer to not being a teenager.
He's got to get her off the payroll. That's
true.
the key.
I'm working on it. One step at a time, Troy.
Happy birthday, Kate, if you're watching.
I guarantee she isn't. Here's the 0-2. Pretty good 0-2 pitch.
But I know she goes back and watches all your games
I'm
on
sure.
tape. Yeah.
Maybe a softball game last weekend. If she was watching either of the last 2 softball games, she had to endure about 3.5 hours. Well, that's a wave and a miss from Williams. And Beidelshees has now struck out 3 in a row. At one stretch in this game, Grubbs K'd 4 straight Razorbacks. Cheese has struck out 3 straight Longhorns.
Yeah, we can't blame it on the shadows or anything like that between home plate and the mound. It's just we got a couple pitchers that have some nasty, filthy breaking stuff, and that's the bottom line.
Back to the top of the lineup for Ethan Mendoza. Walk to begin the game. Had a shoulder injury a while back that has limited him to DH duties. So again, right now, the fact that Texas is 19-4 in league play is such a testament to Jim Schlossnagle, his program, his staff, because that formula to win doesn't have a lot of margin for error when you're missing a few guys and somebody can't play in the field, somebody can't bat right-handed.
Yeah, guys are nicked up and they're just trying to band-aid it together. It really cuts down on their ability to shuffle that lineup. You've seen
Agreed.
Arkansas be able to do that some more this year, but yeah, the Longhorns, you got guys that can't throw or you can only bat right-handed or left-handed. It makes it tough. But you're right, just what a testament to this ball club of just knowing how to win. I think that both these programs have that innate ability, and I think it comes from the coaching staff of just kind of they know how to put teams away and they don't let it slip away from them.
Agreed. And I think the one thing I brought up to Schloss today was the fact that even though a lot of his players hadn't been in the SEC because they switched over from the Big 12, he had been in this conference. So you're talking about a guy who can kind of prepare his team for what they're going to get in league action. As Mendoza walks for the second time, and I think no doubt that has helped. Although Schlossnagle entering this weekend, he did say it's going to be a firestorm. And I really enjoyed that word. He knew exactly what his team was in store for. And if you're Texas, you're coming off 3 emotional wins at home. I mean, tickets were going for $1,500, $1,600 on the secondary market. They swept A&M, his former stop, 3 one-run wins. Then you got to come on the road and you got to start a series on a Thursday. That's not a great recipe either.
Yeah, I think so. And then, like we said before, they even had to throw a Tuesday game in there. And
That's
again,
right.
it wasn't like a nail biter, but still, they didn't have that break. And when you think about playing on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then you have one day off, play a game Tuesday, then you have to jump on the plane to come to Fayetteville. They haven't had a chance to catch their breath this week.
Galvano homered a night ago. It's a pop-up that will carry into the camera well. Nearly took out our student.
I tell you what, that ball really came back quite a bit. You could kind of watch Reese Robinette kind of just fade over toward the stands, and I think it hit right on top of the dugout. So that's only about 5-6 feet deep off the field of play.
I think everybody's okay. Galvano again homered last night. He barely got it out too. Hit 96 off the bat, low line drive. It just carried over the left field fence, didn't make the hog pen.
Some really good backspin on that swing by Galvan, and
Indeed.
that's what guys that can hit those double-digit home runs. They get some line drives that get out of the park.
Well, he had 12 homers in his first 2 years. He said 13 this season. So Troy, he's hitting a homer about every 10 at bats.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, and there's some juice in there for sure.
Hard hit, base hit.
Saw
There's
it right
your
there.
first.
How about 104 off the bat? Boy, nice turn right there at second base by Mendoza. He made Davalon get that baseball in.
So a 2-out walk followed by the first hit in the game, and now Texas has a chance to strike first.
Yeah, just a hanging breaking ball, split the plate by Beidelshees, and again, great hitter in Galvan. He didn't miss it. Yeah, 104 off the bat. That's a pellet.
Jalen Flores flew out to rather deep center back in the first inning. A year ago, started 60 games and led this Texas team with 56 runs batted in, 22 doubles. Also hit 18 homers. Looking for his first hit in this series, 0 for 9.
That might have been one of the best fastballs that Beitelshe's has thrown. Kind of got in on the hands of Flores at 93. Had a little cut to it.
Down in the count, 0-2.
Dave Enhorn and Matt Hobbs have talked about Beitelshe's. Does he have the ability to put people away? Again, you've got a no-2 count. You see the Arkansas fans trying to help him out right here. You definitely don't want to make a mistake.
Struck out 4 Longhorns so far, and that was a missed pitch, and Flores would not chase. About to be the 50th pitch of the game for Beitelshe's. The Ohio State transfer, Ohio native, pitching on the big stage here this afternoon against the #1 ranked Longhorns. Trying to keep this game scoreless. Breaking ball is chopped foul to third.
I don't believe we've seen a changeup from Beitelshe's. Pretty much just sticking with the fastball, breaking ball.
Texas hasn't had many runners in scoring position this weekend. Have Mendoza at second, Galvan aboard at first.
I believe they're 0 for 6 this weekend with runners in scoring position. They want to change that right here.
Long pause from Beitelshe's before the pitch. Hit in the air to deep left field. When this one lands, the Longhorns will have a 3-0 lead. Jalen Flores did not miss. Over the bullpen, over the seats. And a big blow puts 3 on the board in a blink of an eye. He just missed a homer in the first. He did not miss that one. And the home run bug has been the one big issue for Beitelshe's. That is the 11th he's given up.
Yeah, let's see where this pitch is. This is, again, a pitch right down the middle. You can see the second. The pitcher always gives it away. Beitelshe's knew that ball was absolutely tanked. How about 102 off the bat?
399 happy feet. So back-to-back Ks to begin the inning before a 2-out walk, the single, and then the homer. And for the Longhorns, it must feel good just to have a lead. And Kimball Schuessler takes a strike. Well, he's not happy at all with Scott Klein.
He didn't act like he was trying to say, hey, I didn't even have my eyes up, and looking at the pitcher before he even threw that pitch.
Yeah, he's talking about the setup more than the pitch. Schuessler was the diehard Aggie that went to College Station, was cut by Jim Schlossnagle, ended up at Texas, where then he inherits the man who let him go or sent him off from A&M. So life always has a few interesting twists and turns to it.
That's right. You always have to kind of stay positive no matter what happens in that situation.
Hard hit to third, handled by Iredale. Going to throw out Schuessler, but Troy, the Longhorns have been waiting for a big swing all weekend, and they got one from Jalen Flores.
Yeah, just a great swing by Flores. He hits a mistake pitch, a hanging breaking ball with 2 strikes. Tons of power. That one flew 400 feet. 3 big runs for the Longhorns.
With low prices store-wide, eat well for less at Whole Foods Market.
An accused rapist, murderer, and child pornographer. All illegal aliens caught because of President Trump's leadership. I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. And if you're here illegally, you will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. But if you register using our CBP Home app and you leave now, you could come back. Under President Trump, America will be protected.
Summer's here, and with a new Toyota, you can go from here all the way to here. Made it.
Qualified lessees can lease a new 2025 Tundra SR5 for $489 a month for 36 months. Toyota, let's go places.
Well, Max Grubbs walked the first 2 Razorbacks he faced. He's retired the last 6 in a row. He struck out 4, and Troy, now he's working with a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Arkansas again. Grubbs just the right-handers haven't really been able to figure them out, lefties as well either, but boy, that slider cutter is just absolutely filthy.
Thomas Jr., Davilon, and the first of the two Aloys. As Thomas Jr. takes strike one.
I think if you're a right-hander, you've got to think right center field right here. You're just going to ground out the third base if you try to pull that pitch, if you make contact.
Thomas Jr. just missed a grand slam late last night. Flies one out there to left center. He didn't really get all of this at all, and it still carries to the warning track where Gasparino makes the catch for the first out.
Yeah, you're right. You can really see that was a ball that he got jammed on and just hit it straight up the chute, almost 42 degrees launch angle, but it carried out there almost, like I said, to the track.
Davilon walked in the bottom of the first, but obviously did not score.
I think that was the splitter right there. Well, the spin rate didn't show it, but the reaction did.
Well, we call it a cutter, but that cutter slider, that spin rate's been what, 26, 2700? Or maybe it's a different variation. You can manipulate or shape pitches off one another so much more in the last 5-6 years with the technology than ever before. Davilon torches one to center, but Gasparino, big strides, will glide back into the gap and make the catch. Best hit ball of the afternoon from Arkansas. And there's two outs for Vahiva Aloy. You know, we've talked a lot about the brothers this year, Troy, and how they've homered in the same game 3 times. Well, it's been a year of brothers in college baseball. Chris Burke was breaking that down on ESPN last weekend. But I've mentioned the Hakopians with Eddie and Chris. They play at Maryland. I'm familiar with the family. I called their father's games in the minors. Saw them play last year. Yesterday, they went back-to-back in a game for Maryland. It was the 4th time this year that those two brothers have homered in the same game.
That's pretty cool.
So they passed Vahiva and Cahillo. So Maryland, I don't believe, will play in the Big Ten tournament or beyond. So the brothers need to get at least one more game where they both homer. Can you imagine as a dad, though, when your boys homer in the same game 4 times, or they go back-to-back?
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. As a parent, you just have to be on cloud 9. Your feet aren't even touching the ground.
You just have to float. That pitch floated in and missed. Vahiva 5th in the conference in batting average, 2nd in home runs. Head of the count, 3-1.
Now, if I'm Vahiva Aloy, I'm definitely going to sit on. I'm sitting on cutter, and I'm going to sit on the outer third of the plate. The way the Grubbs is throwing that pitch, that's probably what you're going to see.
Good pitch.
It's the right pitch, wrong location. Yeah, that was almost more like a curve, a little bit slower than that cutter. The cutter's been kind of mid 80s. That was a little bit slower.
Down the line at third and under the glove of Borba. Should be the first Razorback hit of the game. Borba could not come up with it, even had he fielded it cleanly. Vahiva was probably going to beat it out. It is a hit for Vahiva, his 74th, and there's Eddie and Chris. Yesterday at Penn State. 3 times this year for Vahiva and Cahillo. It was at Ole Miss when they homered in the same inning. Special moments. Cahillo struck out his only time in. He smashes one high and deep to left center. Goodbye! Just out of the reach of Gasparino. Well, the brothers both get hits this inning. Vahiva the single, Cahillo the blast. It's a 3-2 game. Number 12 for Cahillo. And Troy, he continues to lead the SEC in runs batted in.
Really great swing right there by Cahillo Aloy. I don't think he caught it all the way. a hanging breaking ball up in the zone. We have not seen a pitch that high on the breaking ball by Grubb so far, and Kahio Aloy doesn't miss it. And again, the dynamic duo of the Aloy brothers just continue to produce for Arkansas.
Well-timed discussion as Koschel takes ball one, so it was a 3-run, 2-out homer by Gasparino, or by Flores, I should say, in the top of the inning, and then a 2-run, 2-out blast by Kahio Aloy in the bottom. Late strike call there from Scott Klein. Boy, these fans have been invested in balls and strikes, and so has the Texas dugout in the first 2+ games in this series.
I don't think any of these umpires are getting Christmas cards from any fans or teams so far in this series.
I've been at 2 softball games calling LSU and Arkansas this weekend with some of the worst ball and strike umpiring I think I've seen all year. When you get 660 pitches-ish in 2 7-inning games, you have seen too much.
It's too much.
Koschel check, did he? Well, the third base umpire, Steve Mattingly, says no. Mattingly was refusing to appeal yesterday. He gets the ring up, Koschel, on a strike here.
Yeah, it was just a great pitch. Again, Grubbs, the cutter down and in it is unhittable.
Hard hit, taken on a short hop. And the play will be made at first to retire Koschel. Arkansas, though, gets the 2-run bomb, Troy, from Kahio Aloy.
Yeah, just another clutch hit by Kahio Aloy. Just continues to produce with runners on. Big 2-run swing. Horns still up 3-2.
With hundreds of sales every week, eat well for less at Whole Foods Market.
An accused rapist, murderer, and child pornographer. All illegal aliens caught because of President Trump's leadership. I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. And if you're here illegally, you will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. But if you register using our CBP Home app and you leave now, you could come back. Under President Trump, America will be protected.
Summer's here, and with a new Toyota, you can go from here all the way to here. Made it.
Qualified lessees can lease a new 2025 Tundra SR5 for $489 a month for 36 months. Toyota, let's go places.
Offense is picked up. 3-2 Texas as we go to the 4th inning. Fans receiving Razorback Hawaiian shirts at the ballpark today. We've got maybe the original Hawaiian connection, Rick Nomura. Hey, welcome back.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be back. I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, I love it here.
Look what you've started. Of course, you came here and played for the Razorbacks and had some good seasons. You've gone back to Hawaii. You're still coaching. Got Nolan Souza here. We saw the Aloy brothers. How much fun are you having with this Hawaiian-Arkansas connection?
I mean, it doesn't get better than this. You just see Kuhio hit a home run. You know, we were talking with the father last night, and just the environment here has been so awesome, and how the kids are just embracing, you know, this opportunity, and then all the fans are embracing them, and just the Hawaiian culture, you know, especially of the Asian American Polynesian month thing that we've got going on here. So to me, it's just a great opportunity to be here. My family's here, my wife. We're, you know, very fortunate. We are expecting a child on the way.
All
so
right,
we're
congratulations.
super excited. Yeah, thank you. So it's been an awesome trip, and like I was telling you guys, it's a little colder than we expected.
Gasparino's going to dump one into right. The throw goes to second base. Gasparino was running out of his apparel.
Yeah.
All of his index cards and whatnot, but he dumped a double down the line in right to begin the 4th inning.
So Brett has talked about that Coach O'Brien and Dave Van Horn have always done it wrong. They said they should be recruiting Hawaii much heavier back in the day. So a lot of success so far of getting that. Talk a little bit about your connection with Nolan Souza and getting him here at Arkansas.
Yeah, so Nolan's one was a cool case that, you know, during COVID, it was tough for kids to get off the island to travel. You know, it was a very difficult time. I remember when I went back to the high school to go lift weights, just to work out, to stay in shape, and I saw this kid is very athletic, could move, and I told my brother, I was like, hey man, you know, I'm moving back to Hawaii, like let's put on a clinic. So my brother put it together and showed him a few things, and I mean, credit to the kid, he's very talented. Took some video of him and was like, Coach Van Horn, I think I might have a player for you. He's like, is that right, Rick? So we sent him the videos. He's like, oh my God, what's his name, number, who's his parents? I want to know everything. It's like, all right, coach. And then, we see Nolan get here, and it's just been a blast to see. I don't know if you guys met his parents yet, but 2 awesome parents. And they come from good bloodlines, so it's just a privilege to watch these guys, and I just sometimes gotta pinch myself, like I can't believe I'm watching these guys play.
He's such a great kid, and we're taking a look at the Hawaiian players. Obviously, his season is done. He's in that sling, but a great combination of power and speed. We've seen the Alois with Fahiva taking steps forward, even from the last couple of years. Kahio this year, and you talked about Nolan's parents. We've met the Alois. There's such a wonderful disposition, a humbleness. A genuine quality about the personality of the Hawaiians. I don't know how you would describe it.
I just feel like, being a kid from, Hawaii, and you just always wishing for the best for local kids. You always want to see them succeed, always want them to be good. And, for me, I want these kids to be better than what I was, and I'm just so fortunate that, we get to witness these guys making history, like they're known as the Bash Brothers, or you got Souza being like the kid just blasting home runs. So, for us as a family, we're just super, psyched to see that they're out there just doing their thing. And I was also telling my wife, I sometimes get emotional seeing all this, because I was telling her, I was like, I don't know if people are going to remember me, and we're at the airport and a guy recognized me, and, just driving into the stadium, like it's almost like tearing up. And I was just more, I was more proud that, my parents can call me their son. I'm the one, who kind of ventured out there, and I just want them to be proud of me. So I'm very, very psyched.
Your last season as a senior was 2016. You had 52 starts as the second baseman, 53 hits that year, and it's amazing how time will fly. It probably doesn't feel like it was that long ago since 2016, as Borba grounds one to third, and Iredale will make the play and throw out Borba for the first out. Does it feel like it's been about a decade since you've been here?
Absolutely not. It's funny, you see Coach Goodwin's kids or Miss Kelly's kids, and it's like, wow, you guys were up to my knee, I think, when I was here, but time sure flies by. And I just appreciate, just being back here, and, you see familiar faces. I got to see Zach Jackson last night, Gosser, Grant Cook, so it's just been a privilege to see all these guys again. But yeah, time sure flies, so I always tell the kids, when you can, take a step back, look around the crowd, and just enjoy it, because you know what, this is probably going to be one of the best times in your life.
There's no doubt. We have to thank Rick. He brought us some of our favorite Hawaiian candy. I've not shared it yet with Troy, but I tell you, the gifts have been coming from our Hawaiian friends, and we've just enjoyed not only watching the boys play, but just getting to know them, because I think you recognize the quality of individuals they are. But I think you put it well, when you watch them then have that level of success they've enjoyed, it can't help but make you proud.
Yeah, our family, we run a nonprofit back at home. We call it Nomura Academy, and all we're trying to do is we're just trying to help kids develop and get to the next level. Because our goal is just to try help them, be prepared, and when they go to college as a freshman, they feel like a sophomore. So what we'll do is we'll take a trip to Ohio every year, and we try to subsidize as much as we can, but then we'll have them get up for breakfast, do your weights, go to the game, we'll do your laundry, we'll transport you to the game, but just trying to create the structure for the kids. But it's just been awesome to see that kids are embracing it and they're developing, and now it's like living proof. Like you can see someone like a Nolan Souza or these guys.
That's right. It makes it easier for those kids to understand how tangible it is.
No, it's good stuff. Yeah.
You're still coaching the Hawaii Tigers?
Hawaii Tigers, yes sir. That's it. Yeah, Hawaii Tigers. So that's the team that we take up to Ohio, and I tell them I have this jacket on, Section 101. There's the guys who wave the palm trees over there, and for me it was huge because my family couldn't fly up every single weekend, but these guys were always like my family, like uncles and aunties, so I could always say hi to them, and they're super nice to me, so I always appreciate that. And I try to tell kids, that's the type of culture out here, the Southern hospitality, and it's good stuff. So
you started the Hawaiian Lays in the ballpark. Yeah, absolutely.
When you're watching these games back in Hawaii and you see the Lays and the palm trees, how much do you get a kick out of that?
Oh, I love it,
That ball's blistered to center off the bat of Rodriguez. Thomas Jr. gliding. He'll make the catch in front of the A for the second out. Gasparino will tag and go to third, but there's two gone. And, they just pop up all over the place. And it's so much fun to see here at this ballpark.
Oh, yeah, I love to see it, just to see that, people are still embracing that culture. And, there's actually another kid that got committed to the University of Arkansas named Judah Ota, so another Hawaii kid. And just seeing them, I got to go to the section last night to just say hi and, tell everyone thank you, for all the support over these years. So, guys like Bill Dodson, Jen Eden, Mr. Tran, just seeing all of them. And
Tommy Farmer the fourth will hit one down the left field line. It'll chase home Gasparino. Farmer cruising into second base with the double that will extend the Longhorns lead to 4-2. So a pair of two-base hits this inning.
Yeah, but I mean, just being home though for this series, it's been a blessing to watch the Razorbacks play. Two great first games, and now they're playing this one. So it's like, getting to see Kuhio hit that home run and Vahiva doing what he's doing. It's just a privilege.
How high do you think Vahiva can go? I'm looking at him as a mid-first round guy with his talent of defense and obviously offense.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is the best conference in the nation. It's pretty hard to beat. The atmosphere, the talent you're facing, like Gage Wood was sitting at 98 miles per hour last night. The Texas guy was throwing 95. You got the lefties coming in. You got McIntyre closing the game. Like, it's not an easy conference to be in, but I think it goes to show, they're playing the number one team in the nation, being 11th ranked, but yet they're able to win 2 out of 3 so far. So it's, for me, I think Vahiva, I don't know if I'm being biased, but I choose him first overall.
There you go.
He's got such a high ceiling. I think that's the thing that he's going to continue to get better and better. You've seen how he improved from last season to this season. Again, really cutting out those swing and misses and much more quiet at the plate as a hitter.
Yeah, I mean, he comes from a great bloodline. I know the father, Jamie, Aloy, and for me, seeing Vahiva, he's a very humble kid. I really appreciate that about him, that, he's going to play the game right. He's going to do all the little things right. And, I think he's raised right. And, I'm very proud that, he's from Hawaii.
Have you seen Kuhio hit a golf ball?
No, I haven't. But I heard
Shane
they
Victorino apparently has.
I heard they hit it like 400 yards or something. I was like, I can't even hit it 200 yards straight.
Just shows you the power as the count goes to 2-2 to Jonah Williams. Rick Nomura joining us this half inning as Texas has extended the lead to 4-2. She's about to throw a 75th pitch. And there's a big bouncer to Kojo. It's going to make the play.
All right.
Just like Rick would have in the inning. Hey, Rick, thanks so much for joining us, and best wishes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Everybody take care.
There he goes, Rick Nomura. We go to the bottom of the fourth inning. Texas in front of Arkansas 4-2. Appreciate Rick stopping by. He just told us that it was Tony Vitello who saw him at junior college in Alvin, which is Alvin, Texas, home of Nolan Ryan, and that's how he got here from JUCO to the Division I ranks.
Well, I believe that Tony Vitello is a pretty darn good recruiter.
Oh boy, is he ever.
I'll tell you what, he is. You talk about a guy that can connect with players and analyze talent. He's one of the best in the business.
Iredale, Bowles, and Robinette against Max Grubbs in the bottom of the fourth inning. It just has been fun, though, this year, hasn't it? Not just the Hawaiians, but you mix it in Australian, a French-Canadian. It's proved to us just how global this sport has become at times.
Yeah, and like you said, yeah, and just how much talent there is everywhere.
And the candy he brought was pretty good, too, Troy, and I might get that to you at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to hold you to that.
The Aloha Max. Iredale struck out with a couple of runners on base in the first as he takes a breaking ball for a strike. Might that have been the splitter? Had a low spin
Yeah,
rate.
it really did. A little over 1,200. There's that sharp cutter. That is a tough take. It's such a good pitch by Max Grubbs. And again, just one mistake to Kihio Aloy. He's only given up 2 hits. That is exactly what the Longhorns wanted out of their starter.
It's a top flight mustache he's working with as well.
I think the Texas staff have got some pretty good stashes going.
He should just hop on a horse and ride off into the sunset. Count's gone full again to Iredale. Down and out, ball 4. That's the 35th time that he has walked this season to go along with 17 hit by pitchers.
Boy, what a tough take right there.
That was tough.
That's exactly where Max Grubbs wanted to throw that pitch. You can see he kind of flinched off at it. Did Brent Iredale. If you're Arkansas, that's what you've got to do, especially the right-handed hitters. it's so easy to say up here in the booth, but to lay off that cutter slider down and away. There it is right there. Just unhittable.
Probably don't see a lot of that at the Division II ranks.
Yeah,
Ball
again,
struck out looking in the second.
Your approach against Max Grubbs, if you're right-handed, is going to have to think the other way, not even up the middle the other way, because you can't pull off that pitch.
One thing, too, Troy, he works with tempo. He works pretty fast, so he's jumping ahead in the count and rolling one strike in after another.
Yeah, you hear it a lot, but it definitely keeps your defense on their toes. And talking about a team that can really pick it coming into this series, Texas led all of SEC with a 988 fielding percentage. Arkansas around 982.
Even 60 pitches for Grubbs. Again, this is first start of the year.
I believe he's going to get another after a start like this.
I think you're right.
That's pretty darn salty. And again, a 3-1 count. If you're Carson Bowles, you better sit middle away. If he throws you an inside fastball or even the inside cutter, you just have to let it go.
(3-1). Lace to the gap in left center field. Gasparino on the move. He'll get there to make the catch. Troy, he covers a lot of ground like Laviolette a couple of weekends ago. The big center fielder at A&M, where they take 4 or 5 strides and they sort of outrun the baseball.
Yeah, it's pretty unique to have somebody that tall and that athletic, and he's just really smooth out there in center field. When you're that tall and you don't think they're as fast as they are, because like you said, it's 3 or 4 strides and you've just covered 30, 40 feet.
There's Reese Robinette.
Iredale not really a threat to steal at first base, and also Arkansas wants to keep that big hole open with Schuessler over there covering, holding Iredale on. Kind of unusual technique that Schuessler uses, kind of up in front of the bag. It's always a little bit harder as that right-handed first baseman to try to get that slap tag down to try to pick that runner off.
Robinette bounced out to second. It's only at bat. He was redshirted last year, so when he got a hit against UAPB, had 3 doubles in the game. It was his first hit since March 28th of 2023. That ball's laced high in the air, deep right center field, back to the scoreboard. Tie game, goodbye. Reese Robinette, his first homer in more than 2 years. And it's a big one, and the flags are flying loud and proud in the hog pen. 4-4 our score. So you think about how hard it is to sit and not play and maybe pinch hit, and then you get a chance. And my goodness, have he and Carson Bowles delivered this weekend.
Well, Dave Van Horn talked about it. He said, we're going to need some guys that stepped up that haven't done it so far this year. Robinette knew he got that one. You can see the reaction in the dugout. Nate Thompson got up on that top step, and big country with a big 2-run bomb for the Hogs.
406 feet. Fans indeed celebrating out of the bullpen. And Jim Schlossnagel on his way out to the mound, and he has gone to the bullpen already. So maybe Grubbs an inning or 2 long for his effectiveness. Didn't give up a hit through the first 2 2/3 innings. But Cahill Eloy had a 2-run shot last frame. Reese Robinette a 2-run blast this inning. We'll step aside, come back with the new Texas pitcher. Max Grubbs in 65 pitches goes 3 1/3 innings. He really looked good to start. Arkansas got to him with a couple of 2-run blasts, and he is out of the game, and Texas has gone to the bullpen. New pitcher is Thomas Burns.
Yeah, Thomas Burns. You talk about a guy with an electric arm. Burns, big right-hander, 6'3", 230. He's going to sit mid to upper 90s. Threw really well against A&M last weekend. He'll throw the curve, cutter, and change. Again, kind of over the top release. He's both effective against the lefties and righties, both hitting exactly 200. One thing about Burns is, Brett, there's something to be noted. 70% of his outs are fly ball outs. With the wind blowing out, we've seen balls not hit well that have carried to the track. Might be something interesting.
Well, Reese Robinette just tied this game. Troy, it was 2 nights ago he got a base hit getting a start. It was his second SEC hit. His first was a pinch hit homer. He has had 3 hits in the SEC over 2 years, and 2 of them have been impactful home runs.
Yeah, I think so. I think the other one you're talking about was at LSU, and it was a start that Paul Skeens made, and Arkansas finally survived, and Skeens had to be taken out of the game, I think, after 7 innings. Robinette comes in. I believe it was a 3-run homer.
Was. Part of a huge 10th inning.
It was down in Baton Rouge, where it's never easy to win.
Helfrich the batter. In fact, that was the last pinch hit homer by a Razorback until Kojal hit one the past weekend in Florida.
Right on cue, 96 for Thomas Burns.
Longhorns trying to get out of here with the win. They had lost back-to-back games just once this season. UTEP and LSU before they lost the first 2 of this series. Entering play today. Had a 3-0 and a 4-2 lead, but now 4-4. Might have clipped Helfrich, just didn't miss.
Well, Burns is like old school, straight over the top. This is a breaking ball that just kind of backed up on Burns, and again, that almost got a piece of Helfrich right there. Thought it might even catch the uniform.
Long pause before the pitch. Wave it a miss.
That was filthy. How about 8 runs for total between these 2 teams on 7 hits? There's not been a lot of offense, but some really loud hits for sure.
I think there's 2 things in play. And I'll circle back to this one later on. And there's Mom. She's not videoing. Jim Schlossnagel told us today, and it's something we've touched on a lot. It's not necessarily who you play, but it's when you play teams, because you can play well and lose. But if you don't play well, you will lose a game or a series. And that's certainly, I think, in part. And Helfrich will take ball 4.
Yeah, you're so right. It's when do you catch a team? Are they hot? Are you hot? Are they nicked up? It's when there's so much parity in this league. Again, the Longhorns have really kind of, left away from everyone else in this league so far. But so many teams are bunched up. Gosh, 1 through 8, or at least 2 through 8. You can almost flip a coin on who could win that game or series.
I mean, they could be lined up against each other in super regionals. As Thomas Jr. steps in, I think part 2 of that equation is, Troy, everybody's going to go through a stretch where you start to lose some players. Texas is in the midst of that. Arkansas not having Maxwell, who was their 3-hole hitter and top on base guy, has been a loss. With Souza going down, then Frazier at second base, they've been forced to tinker with the lineup. But when you can throw a Robinette in at first who hasn't played much, or Bulls in the outfield, and you watch them have success, that is the Band-Aid, that is the bridge to getting beyond some of your struggles. Unexpected contributions from guys who have been buried on your bench that all of a sudden, given the stage, deliver. Speaking of delivering, Thomas Jr. sends one to deep center field. Goodbye! Just out of the reach of Gasparino. Thomas Jr. had just enough. Another 2-run shot, and Arkansas has taken the lead. The big center fielder for the Longhorns gave it everything he had, and Thomas Jr. at 405 feet had just enough.
Boy, I thought Gasparino got this baseball. You talk about an absolute moonshot, 37.5-degree launch angle. That is perfect timing by Will Gasparino. You cannot do it any better. You can see a little bit better here how far how close this play was. I think it ticked his glove.
Oh my goodness, what an angle.
That's a great job by our crew. Great camera shot right there.
Troy, he's 6'6", and with that leap, he was probably...
Oh, he was over 10 feet, I'll tell you that for sure.
Exactly, he was up there top of the rim if you could put that on a basketball court.
And I'll tell you what, you look back, the walk to Ryder Helfrich was really key right there. That's just a one-run shot, but with the walk to Helfrich and a patient at-bat that he provided, that's an extra run for the Hogs.
Davalon was the only regular not to get a hit in the game on Thursday, which was unusual, and he's 0 for 1 with the line out today. Arkansas hit 3 two-run homers. You know, Thomas Jr. just missed a grand slam last night. And Arkansas had a few shots to the fence. That was one that was beyond the fence that Gasparino still just about brought back in. I got to see one more look at this, Troy, because first of all, he was playing deep. It was hit high. And watch him measure this up. He did everything right except just bring it in.
I mean, that was absolutely outstanding. That was probably the best non-play I think I've seen in a really long time on an attempted home run.
Might be the best way to describe it.
The thing that was so impressive is he got back and got close to the fence. A lot of times you see guys will literally physically jump into the fence and it will take away from that leap. But that was super impressive for not making the play.
Three and one from Burns to Davalon. That is in. So Burns, Troy, since he's come out of the bullpen, has gone walk, homer, walk.
That's a third walk of this inning for the Longhorns. Again, the only two walks were the first two batters of the game, Davalon and Aloy, by Max Grubbs up to that point. I think this is a great mound visit right here by Max Wiener. Kind of settled down his right-hander. He said, man, hey, you've got electric stuff. Just let it work.
Boy, when you haven't played well in the first couple of games, and you get out to a 3-0 lead or a 4-2 lead, you start to think about shortening the game to get the left-hander out of the bullpen, Volantis in, who's been outstanding, and then all of a sudden, before you can get a little further in the contest, you're trailing.
Yeah, that's tough. Volantis is just absolutely almost unhittable. The 6'6" left-handed freshman is just stellar, and they really want to go to him when they can, but like you said, you can't bring him in the fourth.
No. And Vahiva Aloy has had an infield single and a walk, 74 hits, 68 runs scored. Takes one for a strike at 96.
That was just a great pitch right there. Down and away, just pitcher's pitch by Thomas Burns.
Burns set right at his belt. Pitch timer at 2 when he delivers.
Well, I tell you what, that is one thing that Burns does is
he runs it down.
He will run that pitch count down. Sometimes you've seen some big league. I think Scherzer was the one that came to mind for me. That was the first guy just to sit there and go, "I'm just going to use this to my advantage."
Yeah, time it up. Still only one out this inning. Vahiva Aloy pops one up. Foul ground. Schussler over looking for room, and he backed right into that padded but concrete wall, and it's out of play. That's a former catcher, so there is no give in Kimball Schussler. But backing into that wall is probably not the way to attack that pop-up.
Yeah, and you can tell the difference of somebody that's a visitor than somebody that's played here. We've talked about Reese Robinette and how comfortable he's gone over to balls that have been in foul territory, and it's tough when you're not used to making those plays and how much foul territory you actually have.
Vahivo's right on that 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
Charles Davalon's taking a long look in the dugout. If you ever have a chance to try to steal, this is a good count right here. You expect some kind of off speed. Big lead by Davalon.
Vahiva takes one down the chute for strike 3.
That might have been a splitter. That was really nasty by Thomas Burns. Only 1,345 RPMs. Kind of knuckled up there and really froze Vahiva Loy.
Yeah, it's rare for him to take a pitch down the chute, but you're right. I think it was the change in velocity, the spin or the break that got him. And that's exactly what Burns needed.
It doesn't get any easier when you face Kahiwaloy.
Hit his 12th home run of the season just an inning ago to cut into a 3-0 Longhorn lead. As Burns misses outside, same pitch, right?
Yeah, I think so, same pitch.
He probably said if I got one brother with it, maybe I can get the other with the same pitch.
Almost the same exact spin rate, or lack thereof, at 1374.
Barely moving.
There it is again. That's nasty.
Boy, he's tripled up on that pitch.
Again, we talked about that this season, several of these Longhorn pitchers have developed that split finger, and it's such a tough pitch to read for a hitter.
And you can understand why. I mean, Galvan's setting the target right over the plate, so I think you're getting it again.
That's 4 in a row.
Because you could see where he's set up. If you're throwing a fastball, you don't want it dead center middle. You want it on the corners, but with that pitch, you want him to aim in the middle and then let the movement take it away.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of times those pitchers, the ball might come off the fingers a little differently, so it might have a little cut action, a little inside sink to right-handers.
Troy, look where he's setting up. I think he wanted to do that again, and that'll be a throw to first. If you see him just literally set that glove in front of his chest over the middle of the plate, it's probably a splitter, because again, you're not setting up for a fastball there ahead in the count.
Well, it's not going to end up there. That's the whole point. It's like,
but it's a dead ringer that you're getting
right.
the splitter.
I agree.
See what he does here where he sets up. Same thing. That's strike 3. Down goes Cahillo. Inning ends, but Troy, a couple of big swings for the Razorbacks.
Sure did. The one that really put the Arkansas Razorbacks in the lead was an absolute moonshot by Justin Thomas Jr. He knew he got it. He thought it was way out. Gasparino almost got that thing. Hogs up 6-4.
Longhorns trying to avoid being swept in a weekend series for the first time in a couple of years. Arkansas looking for their first weekend series sweep over a #1 team since 2001.
That's pretty crazy.
Indeed it is. Ben Bybee on the pitch as we go to the 5th inning.
But Ben Bybee's been really good for Arkansas. Talk about a big-bodied right-hander. Bybee goes about 6'6", about 240 pounds. You're going to see that fastball sit around that mid-90s, kind of an overhand curve. Really good strikeout-to-walk ratio right there for Ben Bybee. The 37 punch-outs, only 9 free passes.
Top of the lineup, Mendoza, Galvan, and Flores. 4 innings for Beidelshees. You know, Matt Jones of the newspaper did quite an extensive research project this week, trying to dig up all the games Arkansas has played against a #1 team. Now, you know, finding these records, I mean, the current group doesn't know what a library is, let alone microfilm in a library, but regardless, it's really hard to break it down, but they think it's at least the 80th game going back to Thursday. They played against a team ranked #1 in the polls. And based on that research, Arkansas was 36-43, but 24 of those known games against a #1 ranked team were against the Texas Longhorns.
Man, that's not surprising. You talk about a great history in the Longhorns and a program that just knows how to win. They've had some great coaches. I think back when I played and the rivalries with Cliff Gustafson. I mean, you talk about a class act and a guy that really did it right. And when you had Norm DeBryan and Gus going at each other, it was pretty good.
Ball's lifted a mile in the air to shallow right center. This is not an easy play. This is trouble. Vahiva will not be able to make the catch.
That is a right fielder's ball 100% of the time, Carson Bowles. He has got to take command. You do not want your shortstop going out to shallow right field, not only left field, but right field to make a play.
Kozel gave up on it quickly because the ball was directly behind him, and then Vahiva kept gliding, and we've seen him make so many incredible plays.
Yeah, you see Bowles peeling off right there, and that could come back to haunt Arkansas. You got a really tight game, and you just cannot afford to give free base runners.
That was a miss hit straight up in the air, but it'll drop and fall and go as a double for Mendoza.
Mendoza's kind of going, finally, all the rockets I've hit at people, get one that's a pop-up that should be an out that falls in there.
Here's Galvan, who singled and scored on a 3-run homer from Flores in the third. And
this is, if you're a Longhorn fan, this is where you want the lineup to be. You want Galvan up with a runner in scoring position.
Jalen Flores on deck. Well, tried again. Fans already with a bit of a Bronx cheer, and my goodness gracious, the wind is causing some pop-up problems, and Kozel will make that catch. If back-to-back pop-ups dropped, there might be an implosion in the Arkansas dugout.
We have seen the bomb walker curse on teams with pop-ups. Even the home team has had a little bit of trouble. We even watched the way that Iredale caught the last out of the ball game last night.
Yes.
He caught it about around his waist.
Well, Flores had the Titanic 3-run homer in the third that started the scoring, and before play today, 23 of his 45 runs batted in were either game-tying RBIs or go-ahead RBIs.
That is clutch.
It is indeed, and this is another pop-up. Well, things are traveling in threes, and Reese Robinette with the catch. Somebody get the fungo bat out of the machine and just crank it straight in the air and just watch these guys try and catch pop-ups.
Boy, Robinette did a great job. He goes down right down the wall. He knows where it is and then just slides right up that wall. You can't do it any better.
Fans backing away, not interfering. And it brings up Schussler. And Troy, I want to cap the conversation on playing a #1 team in the nation. I know there's been a lot of discussion this week. There always is with the old-time fans when Texas comes to town, and they say, well, do these young guys understand how important this is to me? I'm 100 years old and I want to be Texas. Do they understand it? And I think DVH has said, listen, it may be about Texas and Arkansas, but it's also about playing the #1 team of the nation. That alone gets everybody's attention.
That'll get you fired up. Absolutely.
In fact, the 85 team was on the field today, and they've been here all weekend. They played Texas in the College World Series.
That's right. They're down. DVH was part of that team as a graduate assistant, but they're down in the Mackey's bases loaded landing as that 85 team, and probably one of the best Arkansas teams they've had.
Schussler looks at a strike, well placed over the outside corner. It's 1-2.
You think about Ben Bybee, he's gotten 3 pop-ups so far, and he's been dotting that outside corner. There's a good look at the 85 team out there. They're enjoying.
You think
Arkansas.
any beverages have been popped?
Maybe a few, potentially.
It's 4 players from that team no longer with us. They were honored as well before the game. As Bybee pumps one upstairs, 2-2, but they got a great ovation. It's good to see Jeff King back at the ballpark this week.
That's right.
Norm DeBryan got a great ovation, obviously.
Really did.
Texas knows all about national championships. They've won 6. They've been to the College World Series 38 times.
That's they just need to have some residents up there in Omaha.
2-2. Rides outside at 95 mph, and the count has gone full.
It's a good at-bat right here by Kimball Schussler. Okay, he's got 6 bombs on the year, 311 for a batting average. He is looking for something he can drive and tie this ball game up.
0 for 9 this weekend, looking to change that, take advantage of that double that dropped up the middle and threw for a base hit off the end of the bat. So Mendoza will turn third and score to make this a 1-run game. Schussler gets the RBI, and that pop-up double that dropped comes back to haunt Arkansas, and it will help Texas.
Yeah, that's a really big run right there. And again, you could just tell that Kimball Schussler was locked in
on that at bat, and he doesn't try to do too much.
That's off the very end.
Yeah, that's just staying back just enough. If you try to pull that baseball, it's a ground out to Vahiva Lloyd short. So again, great job by Mendoza to run that pop up out and end up on second base instead of hanging his head and end up on first base.
Big swing from Gasparino. By the way, his father, Billy, currently serves as the Dodgers Vice President of Baseball Operations. Look me up. I'll be there on the MLB Network Showcase game in a couple of weeks in mid-June for Padres-Dodgers.
Oh, there you go. How fun is that going to be?
Maybe I'll run into Billy. Will is a Harvard Westlake product, and I would say that high school is known for cranking out some big leaguers. How about Max Fried of the Yankees, Lucas Giolito, Jack Flaherty, Pete Crow Armstrong, who's having an amazing season with the Cubs. That's some big-time players going at it currently.
Okay, Schussler has about a 3-foot lead over there, and sometimes you see pitchers pick over to first base. It's not about picking. It's sometimes about resetting and maybe not wanting to throw the pitch that was called.
Well, Texas took advantage of that drop pop-up for a run, but they could make it cost much more than just one if Gasparino delivers and finds himself down 0-2. If you have a seatbelt, I would advise you, like a flight attendant, to secure it.
Yeah, strap in. There's going to be a lot more offense in this game. And tell you what, Will Gasparino with 12 bombs on the season. You got to be careful. 0-2 right here. That's a great 0-2 pitch right there by Ben Bybee. It's right where you want to throw it. It's a competitive ball.
We've talked so much about the pitch framing of Helfrich. How many pitches has he stolen for a strike in just the last couple of weeks?
Oh, a dozen.
And we're talking about 2 or 3 inches.
Right.
And the fans are hooting and hollering on the road, or they're excited, and the visiting dugout is angry here. Even 0-2, he was trying to bring that back just a little bit.
So Bybee has stayed away from Gasparino, and you can understand why. He's just such a presence in the box, but you wonder if they want to maybe try to lock him up with a fastball in. Your fear there is to hit him, but you have to think you've got him leaning out over the plate.
Bybee with the pitch timer at 3. Watches that ball blasted to left field. Back to the fence, Davalon there, and it's gone. 2-run shot and a go-ahead homer for Gasparino. He just missed catching the blast from Thomas Jr. Davalon just could not quite climb the wall and catch that one. And Arkansas's defensive lapse this inning has cost him 3.
Yeah, that was a huge miscue, and again, that is a ball that an outfielder has got to call off any infielder. Gasparino just gets enough. This is a breaking ball right over the middle of the plate, kind of a cement mixer, didn't have a lot of bite on it, and the wind just carried it out.
358 feet, and Texas has taken a 7-6 lead. And now Bybee has given him 3 runs, and he's not through this inning. And it could have been a little bit different. And Borba takes strike 1. Boy, a game of inches, we've seen it in both directions in a handful of plays already, and we're not halfway done.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more plays like that, I think, in this ball game.
You know, when that ball dropped for the Mendoza double, even after Bybee got out and out, I'm just thinking there's no way that can't come back to cost Arkansas a run. Well, it's cost them 3.
Right. That was a big miscue. It doesn't show up an error on the scoreboard, but you're right, it definitely cost the Hogs 3 runs.
So some life back in that Texas dugout, and again with the lead, it just allows them to start setting up their pitching in their bullpen, maybe Volantis at some point, for a team with the 3rd best ERA in the country and the best in the SEC. You know, Troy, getting to 2 strikes has not been a problem. It's been finishing hitters once ahead or with that elusive 3rd out that has been.
I tell you what, something that's pretty amazing is yeah, there's some life in the Texas dugout, but they know this is going to be a long game, and they're not trying to get that don't get too high, don't get too low.
Arkansas's biggest issue in the last 2 Sundays is they have not been able to find anybody, and I mean anybody, to put up zeros on Sundays. 7 different pitchers, I think, in both Texas A&M and Florida have entered games and given up runs. So you want a guy to give a scoreless inning or 2. You can't get through 1 inning or 2. And I know it's really tough on Sunday because it's a hodgepodge, and the hitting conditions are very friendly today. But when you need to win Sunday games, and that's strike 3, you have to be able to get some outs from the pen.
Yeah, I think so. And then, for Arkansas, they just have to find somebody to come up. Big swing by Will Gasparino. The big fella just extended and lofted that one. You can see the reaction of the dugout. Horns up 7-6. Well, there's been a lot of action in the 4th inning. Reese Robinette hit one out for Arkansas, and that gave them the lead. Justin Thomas Jr., both of these are 2-run homers. Will Gasparino almost comes up with that ball. Another moonshot by Arkansas hitters, and then Bybee hangs a breaking ball. Gasparino hits it out for the 3-run shot, and I tell you what, 2-run shot. They got another run earlier on in that inning with the base hit by Schuessler, but again, these Longhorns aren't going anywhere. This is a team that knows how to win. They've won 19 games so far in conference, and Arkansas has got their hands full. This is going to be an absolute slugfest. I think this is going to be a teeter-totter game for here on out.
18 comeback wins for Texas. Koschel, Iredale, and Bowles 4, 5, and 6. Koschel 1 for 11 this weekend. That hit was a homer. I will say, we've talked about it again, it's been a home run friendly day. Arkansas has hit 3. Entering play this afternoon, Texas had given up 32 homers in 45 games. That is a really low number. Arkansas had given up 40. Well, Arkansas has a trio.
I believe somebody was giving me a hard time earlier in this ballgame, thinking that it was going to be a high-scoring game and a lot of balls flying out of the park. Well,
you said there were going to be home runs, and then in the 3rd you changed your mind and said it was going to be a pitcher's duel. And when you did that, it encouraged the offense to break through.
Yeah, just got to prove me wrong.
If your first instinct is always wrong, the opposite of your first instinct is always right.
Didn't George Costanza do that on Seinfeld?
I'm bald, I live with my parents, and I'm Victoria. There's a ground ball into the shift, and Schuessler just did keep his foot in the bag, and Koschel retired.
I think Schuessler is still feeling a little bit from that crash into the wall. After he made that stretch right there, he kind of bent down and kind of put his hands on his knees.
Iredale walked and scored an inning ago.
There was that splitter, and it kind of came in on Iredale. See what Burns is really leaning on that splitter to right-handed hitters.
See the target. Galvan sets up. Fastball, and it was fouled back.
If you got dinner reservations and Burns is on the mound, he's going to ruin them because he's taking every bit of his 20 seconds.
Yeah, he's content just coming set and waiting. The pitch timer just ticking away. He came set at about 15, Troy, and he is going to pitch with 2.
And
that's a long time.
And the crazy thing is, his ability to throw strikes for the most part, because you see a lot of guys really try to do that, especially runners on first base, try to freeze that potential base stealer. And Burns does it to really try to lock up the hitter, but most guys try to do that. They just can't find the zone.
It's down the chute for a strike.
That one had a different spin rate. It looked like a splitter, but it was in the 2,300 range, and the other ones have been about 14. So
twice the spin.
He's got me confused.
Well, that fastball up at 97, but he yanked it a bit out of the zone, and the count has gone full.
And that's the thing. He's got an electric fastball, and then you drop in the splitter at about 84.
Hogs down by a run in the bottom of the 5th. No surprise, Iredale walks again. When you add his walks and hit by pitches together, it's 53.
That'll help your on-base percentage, won't it?
Sure will. Carson Bowles is 0 for 2 will bat. Mentioned a couple of times that the magic number for the Longhorns to win the SEC regular season championship is 4. Well, just a win, you know, it's down to 3, so that's any Texas win or any Arkansas loss would check a number away. If Arkansas sweeps, though, it keeps open the possibility at least of Arkansas maybe being able to come back and win the regular season title. Now, the one thing DVH said this week, and I thought he was right, he said, the SEC has done what I thought it would do, where we all beat each other up with one exception, that being Texas. They have avoided it. Bulls takes one down, but I think this year on the 40 acres, Longhorns have won 6 SEC titles. That's a ton, so they're trying to make it 7. It was Arkansas as an athletic department that won 10 back in 2020 and 2021. They won 8, I think, in 21 and 22. But Texas has had 9 sports that have reached number 1 of the nation, almost half of their 21 sports. But obviously you pay more attention to football and basketball and baseball. For them to win the SEC regular season in year number 1, when the coach got the job basically on July 1st, would be incredible.
That is very impressive, and with some key injuries as well.
We've got a few more twists and turns, though, in this game, I think, as Bulls takes one at the knees. Fastball for a strike. Bulls had his first SEC home run earlier in this series. It's going to be interesting to see, though, if Maxwell gets that hamstring under control or whether that's going to continue to be a lingering issue as it has been. Can Frazier get back on the field? What does that do to the Kojal first base, second base situation?
Brings in a couple more left-handed bats.
Can they get Parker Coyle back? 3-2. That's just outside at 93. And back-to-back walks for Reese Robinette, who homered last inning.
It just seems like that the path of the splitter of Burns kind of favors that left-handed swing better than a righty. It seems like it's gonna end up down and in for the most part. It's gonna end up glove side for Burns.
Troy, look at Reese Robinette's stance. I wonder if it reminds you of anybody else on this team. Upright on that tiptoe. There's a flip to second base.
Is that a left-handed Vahiva Loy?
Isn't it exactly that? I mean, I've been watching this for a couple of weeks with Reese Robinette. Vahiva's very upright, and on that front foot, he gets up on that toe. To me, and you'll see it better from center field, that looks like a left-handed Vahiva Aloy.
I think Aloy's bat might be a little more up and down.
That ball's tattooed. Headed to the scoreboard. It's gonna clear it. A monster home run. A 2-run shot to Foghorns off the bat of Reese Robinette. A 2-homer game, 449 feet into the universe. Absolutely no doubt, in Arkansas with the 3-run shot is back in front. Reese Robinette had gone 2 years since he hit one SEC homer. He's hit them in back-to-back innings.
448 feet, an absolute bomb by Reese Robinette.
Troy, how about 2 walks before that homer? And if you're Texas with such an outstanding pitching staff, you're thinking, when can we make a mistake with a free pass and not have it crush us? 4 multi-run homers for the Razorbacks, and maybe an unlikely candidate, Reese Robinette. That left-handed Vahiva Aloy swing's not looking too bad.
No, pretty good analogy there, Brett.
It's rare when you hit a ball that you're saying that thing is going to clear the scoreboard, but when you check the TrackMan and you see 449, which I think is the exact same estimate that both Vahiva and Nolan Souza have homered this year, it's almost as if TrackMan just stops tabulating at some point.
I guess when the ball goes over the scoreboard, it just vanishes.
Ryder Helfrich batting with Arkansas, now leading 9-7. By the way, for the Razorbacks, it was Robinette's homer last inning that gave them an even 100 on the season, now in triple digits, and then he gets 101 on top of that.
This is a Razorback team that leads the conference in home runs, and it's been an awful long time since that statement was made.
You're talking about an Arkansas team that leads the conference in batting average, in hits and runs, against a team with the best earned run average. But games 3 of series always a little bit wild and wacky. Obviously the conditions are hitter friendly for one of the few times in recent weeks. 3-1 to Helfrich, and that rolls in for a strike to send the count full. Koschel bounced out to start this frame. And Helfrich trying to continue what has been another big inning. Arkansas 2 in the 3rd, 4 in the 4th, 3 home here in the 5th.
Well, how big was it for Arkansas to erase the 3 runs in the top half of this inning? Again, this is like a heavyweight fight, and just both teams are just throwing haymakers.
Texas looking for the second out of the inning. Payoff pitch, strike 3. It pops out of the glove of Vaughn. He's going to lob one to first in time to complete the strikeout. And Troy, this was just a majestic, no doubt shot from Reese Robinette. I like how Burns is turning around to watch it. Nate Thompson with that reaction in the dugout, I would say he knew it. And our camera out there on the ledge in right center, watch it track this thing. Oh my goodness.
That was a moonshot.
That might be my second favorite replay to the Gasparino effort, almost catching that ball over center field to see it not just clear the scoreboard. I mean, that was a no-doubter. Sometimes you see a ball and you're thinking it's going to go out. Maybe it hits along the bomb walker, the letters on the marquee above it. Not that one. It ended up wet.
It really reminded me of some of the balls that Hessen Kerstedt has hit.
Outside to Thomas Jr., who hit a 2-run homer back in the 4th. Not just 4 homers for the Razorbacks, 4 multi-run homers. Thomas Jr. tried to check, quick appeal, no swing, says Chuck Pack at first. 2 balls and a strike.
It just feels like it's one of those games that you just can't catch your breath if you're a player on either team.
Well, Troy, I think to add to it, defensive mistakes or errors or walks are absolute gasoline.
Yeah, they with the wind blowing out, it's a recipe for disaster.
It's an invitation for a crooked number.
Because both these offenses are too good to allow people to get extra swings.
This ballpark has looked resplendent this weekend. I don't know if I've ever seen the grass or the field look better in my time frame.
Yeah, the grounds crew's done an outstanding job. This season, it doesn't even look like it's grass.
Packed house all 3 days. Fans even dealing with the lightning and the weather and whatnot. It's ball 3 to Thomas Jr. Arkansas had 4 runs on 2 hits last inning, 3 runs on 1 hit this inning. Thomas Jr. trying to keep the frame going, and he does by taking ball 4 up and in. So there it is again, Troy, another walk, and all of a sudden, if you're in that Texas dugout, you know, you don't want to come over the plate on a home run friendly day, but you're really tired of base on balls.
Yeah, that's a 3rd walk of the inning for Texas pitchers.
That's 8 in the game, I think.
Yeah, that's tough. The free passes the Longhorns have given up this weekend, again, so uncharacteristic to, hands down the best ERA and staff in the conference.
So that's 20 walks this weekend in 2.5 games?
And a bunch of hit batters.
Jim Schlossnagle going to the bullpen. We'll step aside and be back with the new Texas pitcher, Volantis, coming on. Troy, it's fun to watch some of these incredible freshmen in this conference. Dylan Volantis, the California native, has just been fantastic. Another Westlake High School product, and we were just talking about that, but 11 saves already, 2-time SEC Freshman of the Week. He's got great stuff. He pitched in the first 2 games last weekend against A&M. We've been wondering when we're going to get to see him, and Jim Schlossnagle said now is the time.
Yeah, you see the 6'6", 212-pounder out of Thousand Oaks, California. Arkansas fans, if you remember, Andy Skeels was from Thousand Oaks, California. Volantis, look at the ERA. It's just absolutely ridiculous, almost unhittable. The 52 punch-outs in 36 and 2/3 innings, 6 walks. He's the SEC saves leader with 10. Fastball sitting in the low 90s. Big overhand curve to the slider as well. Again, opponent's only hitting 172 off the big left-hander.
I mean, it's a future starter, Troy, but obviously his role right now has really been a big part of this 38-7 start for Texas. He's facing Davalon, who's walked twice and lined to center and deliver strike 1. We were talking with Texas SID before the game, and last year, Troy, you're talking about SEC freshman pitchers. I believe there was only 7 that threw 35-plus innings. Volantis is just north of that. There were 5 that threw 40. There were just 2 freshmen in the entire conference that threw 50-plus innings.
Yeah, and you see a hitter like Charles Davalon, one of the better contact hitters in the country, just did not look comfortable on that last swing.
I mean, obviously the body reminds you a little bit of a Chris Sale, and he just carved up Davalon to end the inning. But the big blow was Reese Robinette. There are home runs, and there are some monster shots. Take a listen. It sounded loud. It sounded far. It was both. 499 feet over the scoreboard. No doubt 3-run homer, and it's put Arkansas in front. Oh, it's been a bumpy ride, but an enjoyable one if you like offense. Hogs leading 9-7. We've only played 5 innings, and Arkansas has gone to the bullpen for the 3rd pitcher they've used today. It's Dylan Carter.
Yeah, the Bentonville native Carter. He's going to sit about mid-90s with the fastball. He's gained a couple miles an hour after that Tommy John surgery a couple seasons ago. Pretty tight slider cutter as well. Pretty much a 2-pitch mix guy. A guy that really fill up the strikes, and you see only 9 free passes in those 27 and 2/3 innings.
A-Rod, Adrian Rodriguez, Tommy Farmer, Jonah Williams, 7, 8, and 9 in the Longhorns' 6th inning.
That line score was pretty crazy. How about 4 zeros in the first couple innings and then a whole lot of scoring?
It's like somebody woke up at some point, turned the loud music on, and started a party. Rodriguez is 0 for 2. Arkansas has 9 runs on 5 hits. That might be one explanation to some of the craziness.
96 from Dylan Carter.
You know, he's throwing gas. I think we saw Gage Wood pumping some gasoline last night. Struck out 9 in 4 innings. That's smoked to left and hit well. Davalon back looking for room, and he'll come in to make the catch to retire Rodriguez. Gage was asked last night, Troy, by the reporters if he's throwing even harder than before he got hurt, and he said yes.
Yeah, you think you probably have some more time to, build up that arm strength. You're more fresh.
Certainly fresh, yes.
Yeah. I think he hit 99 a couple weeks ago.
He was strutting off the mound last night after the strikeouts. And Gage is a man of very few words. As Tommy Farmer IV steps in, and he was posed the question, hey, what were you saying last night? And he thought about it for an uncomfortably long sequence, and he said, well, I don't know, probably something about all night. I'm coming at you all night long. You better be ready.
You can see he's a guy that wants to continue to build up that pitch count to go deep in a ball game.
There's no doubt. And quite honestly, Troy, if you draw a roadmap for Arkansas, and obviously, they're second in the SEC. They're competing for not just a top 8 seed, maybe a top 4 or 5 seed, but a roadmap to having postseason success, to me, near the very top of that list would be Gage Wood.
Yeah, he is a huge piece, and when he went down early in that tournament down in Arlington, it was a big blow to that Arkansas pitching staff.
Carter kind of wanted that last pitch. Here's the 2-1, smoked fouled outside of third base. And the Texas third base coach, Nolan Cain.
Got to have some happy feet over there at the third base coacher's box.
Well, you do.
I agree with him. You got a right-hander up. He's in the box technically, but he is at the back corner of that box. He is going to use every inch to try to stay in one piece.
Schloss had a great line on himself and his staff with Nolan Cain and Max Wiener. Not that long ago, he said, we're the Satans of college baseball, going back to, just the late change and leaving A&M. But obviously, he wanted to be reunited with Chris Del Conte as athletic director, who was at TCU. And I was calling a lot of games when Schloss was at TCU, including a regional and all those trips to Omaha. Mile high, fly ball, and foul down the line and left and out of play. When you're trying to take a third different team to the College World Series, that's a list that very few are on.
Yeah, that's an incredibly short list. And when you're talking about the Texas coaching staff, you gotta bring in Tulinski in there as well.
Oh, there's no doubt. Wave and a miss. High heat, 96 mph. Carter the K on Farmer. And Arkansas looking for a rare 1-2-3 inning in the middle of this mess. And that has been the busiest man in the ballpark all weekend long.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call by Ryder Helfrich, because Tommy Farmer was just on a couple of those hanging sliders, and he just about was ready to take one out of the yard. And then they changed it and sped up that bat a little bit.
Jonah Williams with a big chopper that will go foul. If we look back at the end of this weekend, and regardless of the outcome, but if indeed Arkansas does win today and sweep, you're going to be talking about the fact that Arkansas pitchers have now struck out 35 Longhorns this weekend, while Texas pitchers have walked 20 Razorbacks.
You stop and think about it. That
doesn't seem right, does it?
It really doesn't. You've had the most dominant pitching staff in the whole entire conference, and by far they were a whole run better than the next closest team in ERA in conference-only games. It's been hands down Texas's staff.
Big chopper to Vahiva Loy. He'll cruise to that one. Throw out Jonah Williams. How about a perfect inning? 1, 2, 3, and done. Razorbacks holding on for a 2-run lead. Here's some SEC storylines. We were talking about brothers playing together earlier. The Witherspoons have been fantastic for Oklahoma. 7 scoreless today. Vandy dominated Alabama, but Troy, that Auburn-Tennessee game was the strange one.
Yeah, that's really tough. The game started last night, and Tennessee's ace Liam Doyle, who's been absolutely fabulous, he gets hot. They don't even get to go an inning, and then it starts raining, and that's how come you got to be real careful on those start times. That's why the Arkansas-Texas game got pushed back, 45 minutes Friday night.
We love to stop games for lightning delays.
No.
But no, you're right.
No.
Vahiva Loy steps in and takes strike one.
Yeah, you just hate that for teams when they burn that best pitcher.
No doubt.
You wonder if Tony Vitello might come back and throw him tomorrow.
I'll be curious. This is the only Thursday, Friday, Saturday series in the SEC. Vahiva is going to get his second hit, 75th of the year. But you're right about one thing, Troy, and it's rare when you're right, but like a broken clock, maybe twice a day. I mean, either today is Sunday or we're going to have 2 Saturdays or 2 Sundays, because these Thursday, Friday series jack me up like nothing else.
Yeah, it is. It's totally confusing. It does not feel like a Saturday, but that's the way I think you have to go after Volantis. You've got to think up the middle the other way. This kid's stuff is absolutely filthy. I can't wait to see him a couple years from now.
Agree.
It's just it's unhittable now.
Wearing number 99, facing Kuhio Aloy. In the third, Vahiva singled, and Kuhio knocked him in with a 2-run shot. But that is a long, lanky lefty, and this is all kinds of trouble. Was that ball touched by Galvan or not? It was not. It almost grazed him, Troy, to the point where that would have been in no man's land. And the spin rolled that thing back foul, and DVH saying the same thing. That didn't touch him? Are you sure?
Okay, we talk about catchers' athleticism on blocking baseballs.
How about avoiding
How
baseballs?
about avoiding the baseball? I mean, that was some kind of contortionist move right there by Galvan. I mean, he is like all over this baseball. And watch him just avoid it going, uh-oh, I do not want to touch that thing. That is one of the craziest non-plays I think I've ever seen.
I mean, he's just begging for that ball to bounce right over the top of his
He's trying to get his head out of the way so it doesn't hit his mask. Yeah. Wow.
Troy, think about some of the pitchers, though, that have worn 99. Mitch Williams, wild thing.
Woo.
He used to wear 99. Mariano Rivera wore it for a while. Kenley Jansen. Aaron Judge wears 99.
It feels like a spring training number, but now it's almost kind of, whoa. That's a great play by Schussler over there. He saved Aloy from going from first to third.
Texas has made 2 great plays this inning just to avoid nothing happening.
Those are the ones that don't show up in the books. That was big.
Hogs up by a pair in the bottom of the 6th. Did Kuhio offer? He did not. Chuck Pack said no swing. We've had more discussion about check swings in these 3 games of the series than I have seen in a 3-game set in a long time. And maybe that speaks to the pitcher's stuff.
Yeah, that's just some filthy stuff. That ball is starting about waist high and it ends up at the hitter's toes.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Pitch timer winding down. Kuhio takes strike 3 over the outside corner.
Boy, as a hitter, you see it out of the hand of the pitcher, especially if you're 6'6", and you're thinking there's no way that pitch is going to be a strike at the release point. Look how high that release is, and then the bottom drops out of it.
Everything's coming out of that release point, whether it's tunneling, whatever term you prefer. It's just tough on these hitters. Koshos 0 for 3 with a couple of bounce outs to short. Again, Schussler with a pretty nice snag at first.
If you're a left-handed hitter trying to face Dylan Volantis, you got to think up the middle the other way. You got to shoot this ball to left field if you're Cam Kojal.
Tried to check. Pitch was called a strike, I believe. Koshal's 1 for 12 this weekend. He had a 0 for 12 weekend against A&M, and he still was leading the SEC and SEC-only games in batting average. He put some money in the bank during a couple of sets, including Mizzou and Vanderbilt.
When that velocity for Volantis picks up a few more miles an hour more, and you know he's going to get bigger and stronger, you know, with that long, lanky frame, it's going to be lights out. It already is.
And the hitters just aren't able to hold back. Those have been some uncomfortable check swings and takes.
Well, the pitch starts about letter high and it ends up at your toes, and then it starts out over your head and it ends up in the strike zone.
9 runs on 6 hits for the Razorbacks, so they have made the most of the balls they have hit. Handful of those landing on the other side of the fence or scoreboard. Outfield and infield absolutely straight away against Kojal. As the fastball carries out.
Yeah, to the lefties, it looks like Volantis is going to give him the show me fastball, and not for a strike, and then come back. And Texas is going to do the shift. You can see the third baseman, Borbeck, going over there and playing on the right side of second base.
Chopper foul by Kojal. Landing right near Matt Hobbs in the dugout. I think Doc caught it. Lefty-lefty battle. Volantis to Kojal. Strike 3. Back-to-back, K's looking. Kojal maybe not so sure. 2 gone.
Look pretty good from up here, and I think as that pitch is crossing the plate, I think that's definitely a strike. See if it crosses the knees. That is a big-time hammer breaking ball. Yeah, that is just got so much depth from Volantis.
So after the leadoff single, back-to-back Ks, here's Iredale. He's walked twice, scored twice. The fans hooting and hollering. They didn't care for that strike call from Scott Klein.
I don't think Brett Iredale either, and if Volantis gets that pitch, you almost don't have a chance.
4 of the Razorbacks who have walked have scored, including Iredale twice. There it is again.
That's the one you've got to jump on right there.
Just the slower break.
Yeah, that's just, he's doing such a good job. The fastball looks about 95 and it's about 90-91 because that breaking ball is just such a sweeper. But again, it's a top to bottom curve.
Iredale just serves one out to right center field. This ball's going to get down, cut off by Farmer. Aloy's going to motor to third, and there's runners on the corners. Farmer, by being able to cut that ball off quickly, kept from maybe seeing Vahiva turn third with the chance to take a peek on where that throw was coming in. That's a nice piece of hitting.
Yeah, off the bat, you just didn't know if that was going to get into that gap. But again, Farmer does a great job over there. Wouldn't hit quite on the screws by Iredale, but you're right. Just taking that pitch and going with it.
For all the good stuff and break from Volantis, he has not thrown a single wild pitch this season. Carson Bowles with a big chopper to the right side. Rodriguez going to have to hurry that throw, and he does, and Schussler keeps his foot in the bag, and that will end the inning. Arkansas strands a pair. We've navigated 6 innings. Hogs up by 2. Maybe a moment of calm in that 6th inning as Dylan Carter had a perfect frame in relief. Volantis gave up a couple of singles, but put up a 0 in the bottom of the frame. And on we go to the 7th, the last furlong of this Kentucky Derby race between the Longhorns and the Razorbacks. Put your money down and put your best suit on.
Well, we've used the heavyweight boxer analogy. Now we've got the thoroughbred analogy working.
It is Derby Day. Top of the lineup, Mendoza, Galvan, and Flores. Mendoza had the double that dropped between Aloy and Kojal and Bowles and Wright, and with 2 outs, Texas scored 3 runs. The last 3 that they plated.
I think this is a big batter right here for both ball clubs. If you're Texas, you love having Ethan Mendoza up. Just a big-time table setter coming in. You see the .345 batting average.
Good pitch for a strike at the knees on the inside corner.
I love these stats that are kind of little, not really obscure, but how about Mendoza when he leads off an inning, he's hitting .416. That's pretty salty.
That's why he's leading off this lineup. 0 for 6 coming into action today, but a couple of walks, a double, a couple of runs scored. It's not bad when Texas had scored just 1 run in the first 2 games.
Crowd didn't like it, pitch definitely off the plate. You got to love a leadoff guy that's comfortable hitting with 2 strikes, because you can afford to take a lot of borderline strikes.
3 balls and a strike. Texas entered this weekend not only #1 of the nation, but riding a double-digit winning streak, 10 straight. Their second double-digit winning streak of the season. Off to the best start in 43 games in 21 years. In fact, the last time a team was this good through this many games was Oregon State in 2017. So that's nationally. That's just not Texas or SEC. Jim Schlossnagle said it would be a firestorm coming into this weekend. He's right. A lot of baseball left. This is going to be a long run for Thomas Jr. He's going to call off Aloy. And Troy, these outfielders play so deep with the conditions that even on what looks like a routine fly ball, it is a long run to get there.
Yeah, it really is. And you better get the right break. And I like how Thomas Jr. just kind of overruled Vahiva Aloy.
Because how much running did Vahiva
I mean,
do?
Vahiva is tracking out there. He probably ran about 100 feet, and finally Thomas Jr. goes, nope.
In the big leagues, there would be no shortstop that would do that.
No.
They'd say, bro, you take it. I'm not going to run 100 yards for nothing. Here's Galvan waving and missing.
See Galvan with that open stance, really trying to get that right eye to be able to see that baseball a little bit better. A lot of times when you see hitters have that open stance, you know that dominant eye that they want to get a better look at that baseball is usually that back eye. You try to turn that head a little bit.
Interplay today in the top 10 of the SEC in OPS and slug and walks on base.
Great take right there.
Two and one the count to Galvan with Flores on deck. He's homered. Gasparino looming a little bit later on. He's homered. Wave and a miss.
But I love to look at a couple stats. I really don't think too much about a batting average, but the two things that jump out for me for a guy offensive hitter is RBIs. He's driven in 39 this year, and runs scored 45. Are you driving in runs or are you scoring runs?
It was interesting. Helfrich called time with a 2-2 count. I don't know if, Troy, this speaks to the importance of this pitch or whether they were just locked up on technology or what pitch they wanted to throw.
To me, it almost seems like the importance of the pitch and how dangerous Galvan is. You've got a 2-run lead. You got 2 strikes. You just don't want to make a mistake. This is a long conversation. This doesn't seem like, oh, I couldn't see,
Agreed.
couldn't tell what kind of pitch you wanted to have, a pitch comm issue. That was a strategy session.
Our organist has been working overtime, though, this weekend.
And the 45-minute lightning rain delay yesterday, whatever that was putting in work.
Indeed. Kyle Peterson wanted to give him double time. The 2-2 is in the dirt. Keith Moreland's working the Texas radio booth this weekend with Craig Way. And, of course, Zonk played a lot of years in the big leagues, but he played for the Cubs, one of my favorite teams, the '84 Cubs, with Dunston and Sarge and Bull Durham and Jody Davis and Ron Say and Rick Sutcliffe. And I said to him, did it remind you at Wrigley yesterday? And I think it did.
Yeah.
There's Zonk. Bubba Carpenter there as well. Craig Way. That's ball 4 to Galvan. So Carter lost him. And Troy, that brings the tying run to the plate. That was quite a battle of wills, and Galvan draws the walk, his 38th.
Yeah, that's just a great at-bat. You think about that mid-'80s Cubs Braves team. Every kid that loved baseball knew every player because guess what? That's when cable came out.
That's
and
right.
They had all those games.
TBS, WGN.
Oh, my gosh. You watched 1,000 games or 1,000 innings for sure as a kid.
Somebody lost their hat. They lost their shirt. Let's go.
We got a sack. We get all kinds of stuff. I have to admit, I wasted a lot of afternoons in the summer.
Well, that 84 Cubs team was special. That was fun. Harry Carey on the mic. Jalen Flores in the box here. Fastball. I thought that was over the inside corner, but it missed. Flores had a 3-run homer back in the third.
I don't know if that was in or down.
95 on the scoreboard, 96 on TrackMan. Stroke to right. It's traveling out to Bowles. Well, he plays deep, and that ball tracked right to him. Well struck, but the second out of the inning.
I mean, normally that's a ball that an outfielder has to go back on, and it might even get over his head. But you're right, Bowles playing very, very deep in right field. And, again, a little bit of that's the wind blowing out, but it's so much easier for an outfielder to come in on the baseball than go back on a ball. That ball was hit on the screws. How about 101 by Jalen Flores?
Schussler knocked in a 2-out run with a single up the middle in the fifth, and then scored on Gasparino's homer. It's fouled back and out of play.
Seems like Carter's trying to go at these Longhorn hitters with a few more fastballs in this inning.
I would agree. He's been willing to challenge them. Dylan Carter in his second inning in relief. Bybee and Beidelshees preceded him in this Saturday game 3. Boy, that was just sawed off, and Schussler fouled one back to the netting. All right, Troy, we talk about 0-2. We talk about 2-out situations, finishing off hitters, finishing off innings. It all kind of rolls into one here in this sequence.
Yeah, I think so. And you've got a couple different choices. You can go the fastball about bill high, or the sweeper and slider down and away, but you can't leave anything over the dish.
Outfield deep against Kimball Schussler. Boy, that was not a bad 0-2 pitch. I'm almost surprised Schussler didn't offer in protect mode.
Yeah, that was one. I think he was even shocked by how close that pitch was. Just kind of wish we had the TrackMan strike zone right there.
Said many a time this season over and over in this booth. That's strike 3, no doubt about that one. Carter the K, the inning ends. It's stretch time at Baum Walker on a gorgeous Saturday. Two Titans going at it. Reese Robinette looking for a third home run when you come back. Troy, Reese Robinette entering play today had 5 hits this season. He's hit 2 home runs this afternoon.
Yeah, the first one just kind of squeaked out. That one he admired for a little bit. I don't blame him. When you hit one 450 feet, you got to take a little time on that one.
Somebody's calling their friends or family members and saying, did you see the second home run from Reese Robinette? And they're saying, the what from who?
Yeah. Which guy?
Who? 2?
I thought he redshirted. No, that was last year. This is going to be a good matchup. Robinette's really seen the ball big. You've got Volantis, it's just almost unhittable for lefties.
If you've been on campus for a few years and you hit 3 homers at a game where you had 1 SEC homer
That's
prior,
amazing.
That would be a legendary Razorback moment. But obviously facing an incredibly difficult pitcher in Volantis, who has given up 2 homers in 38 plus innings.
I tell you what, it says a lot about the character of Reese Robinette to just wait and bide his time until he does have that opportunity.
In the air, this is not going to be an easy play for Borba, and he's going to give way to the shortstop Flores, who made the right call and the catch to retire Robinette. Troy, it's one thing to say wait your time, but baseball is such a timing game and such a repetitive nature. And I'm not talking about BP, I'm talking about seeing live pitching.
It's totally different. I mean, when you talk about game situation, and you even see about guys that, get to play once or twice a week that struggle to have timing. And then
no doubt.
You talk about sitting out a year and then even sitting out the majority of the season this year.
There's Helfrich. Takes one in. Sometimes I think not playing midweek games hurt you a little bit on timing.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we mentioned Arkansas had their game rained out a day in advance going to Missouri State. Really, I think DVH was thrilled. I think Jim Schlossnagle said it was a tremendous benefit for the Hogs, and they've come out looking rested, sharp. And Texas had those 3 emotional wins this past weekend at home, and then had to come on the road for a Thursday series.
A quick turnaround.
It's not fun. It really isn't.
And I tell you what, sometimes you think these players are machines, but you get tired mentally and physically. Just to try to stay locked in like that. And I think it was big, the comment you made about how emotional those wins were against the Aggies. I mean, the crowd was amazing there at Dish Falk, and those were huge wins, and I think that took a lot out of them.
I do too. On the count 3-1. Jim Schlossnagle, though, said, you know, this Arkansas team, they're one of the best in the country, pitching and hitting. He was complimentary of the fans. He said it felt like coming to a Cardinals game here with professional fans that are into it from the beginning. As Helfrich takes a called strike and is 3-2.
Like Helfrich's probably talking to Scott Klein going, hey, I want that one when I'm catching.
It's re-engaged the fans, and the payoff pitch. Well, that is outside, and that is ball 4. So a base runner, and you know, Troy, we talk so much about insurance runs, and obviously today you're a threat to score a run when you're in the box and there's nobody on base. But I do believe Arkansas would love to find any which way to get to that 10th run and a 3-run lead.
I think that's definitely huge. There's this is one of those games, I don't think there's going to be a safe lead unless you get up there 6-7 runs with the way the wind's blowing out and the power of these ball clubs.
Thomas Jr. with a big swing. Fouled one right back.
And I think you also have to throw in the equation of you're kind of down to the bottom part of your bullpen as well, too. That's probably one of the best swings on Atlantis so far.
Often running is Helfrich. Pitches a strike, throws off line. That's been 2 throws from Galvan that have not been close, resulting in a couple of stolen bases for the Razorbacks. And you're trying to get a runner in scoring position, and Mom says, look at my boy go. It's his first stolen base of the year, and she wasn't videoing.
And you know she's talking. She goes, he gets his speed from me.
Ryder lucky the Galvan's throw wasn't close, but Mom enjoyed it.
And Ryder can really run for a catcher.
Base hit should produce a run. Good block by Galvan. You know, the one thing I think Texas was also curious, and Schlossnagle said this, he said no disrespect to Mississippi State, but it's going to be a little bit different. I mean, they went to Missouri, and that's really not an SEC type feel. They went to Kentucky, good fans, but it's not this. As Thomas Jr. takes one down and out, they finish at Oklahoma. And again, sometimes it's what teams you play, other times it's when you play teams on your schedule.
Yeah, I think so. And this is a really hostile environment for anybody that comes into Baum Walker. Kind of the same advantage that the Longhorns have in Austin.
Swinging a foul, they got a piece of Galvan. Boy, that one just sounded painful.
Anything to the outfield, unless it's just a one-hop shot, Helfrich's got a pretty good chance to score again with the wind blowing out there.
Yeah, you have to play those outfielders so deep.
Had to, yeah. They're literally probably about a couple steps deeper than they really would like to be in this situation.
The 2-2. Up and in. Spun Thomas Jr. away. The count has gone full. We've seen the stuff from Galvan, and I would say, Troy, it still doesn't feel like he's been completely sharp either in some of these sequences.
Oh, you mean from Volantis? Yeah.
Yeah, Volantis.
You feel like that you could see one of those big, huge sweepers right here.
He's working with his catcher, Galvan, trying to pick off Helfrich, and he threw one into left center field. Helfrich might have a chance to score. He's going to turn third, and he slips as the ball was played back in. it was almost in no man's land in left center.
Yeah, it didn't roll out toward the outfield very far, and we talked about how deep these outfielders have to play with this wind. You wonder, it's a little bit of a late break right here. It took Helfrich a little bit of a second to react. Then he finally reacts right there, but you see how far.
That was a game of Twister for a second.
Yeah, you wonder, and that wasn't a very good turn. He was not expecting to go home, but that was not the smoothest.
We went from twister to slip and slide. Infield in, 3-2 outside. So now there's runners on the corners. We'll also see if Arkansas might try and run Thomas Jr. because Texas has a decision to make. It looks like the middle infielders might back up about halfway or double play depth, and the corners are going to have to stay in. They don't want Arkansas to get that 10th run.
Do you safety squeeze right here if you're Arkansas? This is going to bring out Jim Schlossnagle. He's going to go. He's having a conversation with Scott Klein first.
And it's going to be a strategy discussion because there's nobody throwing in his bullpen. Boy, there's a lot of pieces of a chess match to think about in this sequence.
Yeah, and you think if Arkansas does try to safety squeeze, if you're Ryder Helfrich, you try to get off as far as the third baseman will allow you. So if Borba really starts trying to, creep in, you can come in as far as that third baseman can.
How challenging is it if the infielders or the corners play in?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You've got a guy that can really handle the bat, but he did not look comfortable his last at-bat against Dylan Valantis. And Valantis is a guy that can easily punch out a left-handed hitter no matter how good they are.
It was a 3-pitch strikeout, and Davalon's only K'd 19 times all year in over 200 at-bats.
Yeah, I think the key for a left-handed hitter against Valantis is you got to see the ball up. If it starts about waist high, it is going to dive out of the zone.
I was talking about the fact he has not thrown a wild pitch this year. Runners on the corners. Middle infielders are halfway. Davalon steps in. He is going to square on that safety squeeze situation.
I'll tell you what, that told me a lot, that neither the third baseman or the first baseman for the Longhorns really crashed when he squared. They stayed put.
Flip to first to Thomas Jr. Back and standing. I tell you what, for a pitcher who's committed an error throwing already this inning, that might be a little bit of a scary situation.
And again, that was to try to get some information. Did Davalon kind of slide that hand at the bat? It sure looked like he did to me.
Davalon swinging away, launching one for the building, and beyond. Another monster, no doubt. 3-run homer. This one from Davalon, and the Razorback dugout is up for grabs. Arkansas not only gets their insurance, what a big-time blast from Davalon. 410 feet to the building, and it's 12-7 Razorbacks. Take your safety squeeze and hit one to the top of the building.
What a tremendous swing by Charles Davalon. Boy, you talk about leverage and admiring the home run. Reese Robinette did. Charles Davalon did as well. Just an absolute bomb. Watch Valantis' reaction right here as soon as this ball leaves the bat. Yeah, he knew that ball was touched. And again, how big are the two walks by Ryder Helfrich and Justin Thomas Jr.? Because I tell you what, this is a game that a solo home run's not going to beat you, but the crooked home runs will.
Well, the last 2 3-run homers have been preceded by 2 walks. Davalon saying, did you see where that thing landed? Just today, Troy, 6 of the runs Arkansas have scored have been guys that have walked. And when you mix that in with now, 5 home runs? 5 home runs. So either it's walks or it's homers.
Yeah, it is just breaking the back of the Longhorns of those free passes, because Arkansas, again, has had 8 hits in this ball game, but boy, you talk about some big-time hits with runners on base.
So Arkansas has scored 27 runs this weekend. Of the 27, 14 have been individuals who have walked or been hit by a pitch.
Wait, say that again?
14 of the 27 runs Arkansas scored from guys who have walked or been hit
Wow.
by a pitch. All Bahiva Aloy does is wake up and get base hits. How about 3 more today? Leads the SEC in that category. And Arkansas keeps it coming.
So Arkansas is 7 for 17 with runners on base today. That is some clutch hitting.
Volantis had given up 4 earned runs all season. Give up 3 on 1 swing.
Yeah, that's just amazing. This kid is something special for sure, and there's going to be times baseball is going to get you one time or another, but I tell you what, he's one of the best relievers in all of college baseball. There's no doubt about it.
Well, there is no doubt, and I think Arkansas has had some weekends where you look back at it, wasn't a lot of fun, but you take it in stride. You feel like there's aspects that will benefit you, and you move on. And it may be the case if they can't mount another comeback here late in this game. But they have run indeed into that firestorm that Jim Schlossnagle predicted.
The Hogs offense has just been so explosive this season, and their ability to put up big crooked numbers.
If you got extra points for length of home runs,
yeah, for balls hit over 400 feet,
over buildings and scoreboards,
you get an extra run.
The 23rd time that Arkansas has scored 10-plus runs in a game as Cahillo waves and misses. After the Little Rock game where Arkansas scored 10 runs, Troy, they had scored 10 runs in more games than they had not scored 10 runs. 52% of their games after that Little Rock series, they had scored 10 runs. And they had done it in 19 of 29 games at Baum Walker. Cahillo Aloy skies one to right, heading into the corner. That ball was caught by Farmer. He took one away. And for some of the near misses in this series, Farmer went over the yellow line and robbed Cahillo Aloy.
Wow, we talk about outstanding plays and trying to do anything you can to keep your team in a ball game. How about Farmer the 4th? That is perfect timing. Look at that extension. What a great catch.
It might have been right at the top of that fence. Regardless, great effort. Here's Kojal. He's 0 for 4. He's the only Razorback who hasn't scored a run today. Finishing my thought, though, after that Little Rock series just a few weeks ago, Arkansas in 29 of their home games had scored double figures 19 times. That's 66%.
That's just crazy.
They've only lost 1 game scoring in double figures, and you remember the 14-13 slugfest with Missouri State. And then they went through the last 5 games. Through the 9-0 Texas win, they had not scored 10 runs. They got close, of course, but they've put 12 on the board today. And just about had 14 as Kojal fouls one back. Kojal would like to participate in this fun because everybody else has. Everybody else in this Razorback lineup has scored a run, and everybody else, with the exception of Helfrich and Bowles, have hits. And Cam entered this weekend with the best batting average in SEC-only games. Facing this tough lefty, he just missed. I thought that was pretty good. DVH said this week, though, Troy, that, you talk about those last 3 series losses. He said we have enough firepower to overwhelm you in a game. But they were losing in the margins in the other 2 and thus losing series.
Yeah, I think that's what really good teams do is, just don't break out in one game, but just put it into a series. And it seems like that's what Arkansas has done. They weren't incredibly flashy yesterday. You know, that you felt like that they had an opportunity, left a lot of runners on base, but today, you know, the 7 for 17 with runners on base has just been an amazing stat.
Kosho's going to wave and miss. That's going to end the inning. A frame in which Arkansas had another big-time swing. The home runs have been flying at a bomb walker today. Listen to Devlin. Up, out, and gone. 12-7 Razorbacks.
With low prices store-wide, eat well for less at Whole Foods Market.
An accused rapist, murderer, and child pornographer. All illegal aliens caught because of President Trump's leadership. I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. And if you're here illegally, you will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. But if you register using our CBP Home app and you leave now, you could come back. Under President Trump, America will be protected.
Domino's new Parmesan stuffed crust pizza tastes like never before. Because Domino's has never had stuffed crust before. Seriously. But we do now. So get any medium 2-topping Parmesan stuffed crust pizza for $10.99 when you mix and match.
Troy, 12 runs on 9 hits speaks to the fact that Arkansas has been getting not only 5 homers, 5 multi-run homers.
Yeah, that's the difference in this ball game. Some, you know, a lot of base runners on, a lot from free passes, and Arkansas has really capitalized.
Gasparino, a double and a 2-run homer. Leads off the 8th against Dylan Carter, who's back out there for his 3rd inning of work. Vital Shoes went 4 by an inning. .93 for a strike. Conference tournaments begin in a few weeks in Hoover. It'll have a different look this year. Obviously, the conference is expanded, no longer the wild and wacky of, is it a single elimination round or you win the double elimination round? As Gasparino fouls one back and out of play.
It'd be pretty nice for teams when you get that double bye. Not play till what, Thursday?
Well, right, and that's where both of these teams are certainly trending for. It also raises the possibility of whether they're going to see each other again. Fouled right back to the screen, because that could indeed happen in Hoover, and it might happen in Omaha.
Would not be surprised. I think if you wanted to, if you're a betting person, you could like put some money on that, on both places.
Shanked over near the Razorback dugout.
It's a good battle on that bat right here by Gasparino. Good hitters spoil the pitcher's pitch. That's what he's done in the last 2 pitches. Now he's looking for a mistake.
Long pause from Carter before the 2-2 pitch, and that's crushed. In the air, deep center field. Thomas Jr. looks like he's got enough room. Just hit too high. 100 miles an hour, 35-degree launch angle, and Gasparino retired. Conference tournament, 16-team single elimination bracket. 1 through 4 get that double bye. 5 through 8 receive the single round bye. 6-day tournament, 4 games each day, Tuesday, Wednesday, a couple of games on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Be nice if they had a roof like they do in the Big 12 at Arlington.
I tell you what that new format can really do is really propel a team. Maybe they're on the bubble to really gain some ground. I tell you, it also will allow teams to really kind of step up, or are you kind of slotted as a 3 seed? Do you bump into a 2 seed or go from a 2 to a 1?
Casey Borba's 0 for 3. I'll take that in a different direction. Lace to left. Davalon back, nearing the fence, leaping high. He's going to make the grab below the yellow line. We've had about 3 near misses in the last 15 minutes between these two teams.
Those are 2 loud outs by the Longhorns, and that just kind of sums up how this weekend has gone. Off the bat, I thought this had a chance. That ball was just a rocket, only 22 degrees, and I think that was the difference of just didn't have enough launch angle on it.
We've seen the benefit of playing your outfitters deep. We've seen the issue sometimes with balls that fall in front, but you don't make that catch if you're not playing deep.
No, you're having to scamper back, and that one's over your head.
Rodriguez is 0 for 3. I would say, Troy, there's been a lot of arguments. Do you even want to win the SEC tournament? In other words, if you're going to be in the regional, do you want to play 4 or 5 games and play double elimination rounds? Well, now if you get that double bye, you can try and win it and not expend so much energy that it puts you at a disadvantage.
I really like that approach, because you're right. I mean, there's a lot of teams that were like, hey, we're already at a 1 through 8. You know, we're gonna
go
host
home.
a super. Yeah, we just 1-2 barbecue and let's go home and get a little extra time off. And I think it's a really good move.
I like it.
Plus, it keeps for the most part, it keeps your pitchers in the same amount of rest. If you're if you're a Friday night starter, you may pitch on a Thursday now, but you're not going to pitch on a Tuesday or Wednesday or something really funky.
That's why it's important to get those double byes or a bye to be in the top 8 as the count goes to 3-0 to Rodriguez. But whether or not these teams meet in Hoover, unlikely they would meet in a super because they'll both be national seeds potentially. But we've seen some matchups in Omaha between these teams down through the years, and who knows what that might mean in Nebraska later on this summer.
Yeah, that's right. And you think about in Omaha, it definitely is more of a pitcher's park.
Dylan Carter looking for another perfect inning. Count has gone full. Teams had that long lightning delay. I think it was in 2018 in the College World Series. We sat around forever and waited and finally got that game in, and Arkansas win. Hogs trying to sweep this 3-game series, and the payoff pitch. Another one laced to the gap in left center field. Davalon will not get there this time, but he's going to take it on a bounce on the track and play it back in. Rodriguez with his first hit of the day, a 2-out double, keeps the 8th inning alive for the Horns.
I think that's a good job by Dylan Carter. You've got to fill up the strike zone. You can't allow a walk right there. And again, that's a really good piece of hitting by Adrian Rodriguez, taking that ball right where it's thrown. And again, Dylan Carter's going to get a nice round of applause right here.
Arkansas needs 4 outs for the win and for the sweep. Fans give Dylan Carter a nice ovation. We'll step aside and come back with Arkansas leading in the top of the 8th inning, 12-7. Troy, this was quite a moment before the game.
Yeah, the 85 team, probably one of the best Arkansas teams they had. Just tremendous athletes on that team. That's Dave Van Horn, was a graduate assistant on that 85 team. He got a big round, and boy, the biggest round of applause was Norm DeBryan. What a class guy was Norm DeBryan. The players just loved playing for him. I sure did. And again, he just coached right. He challenged you when he needed to. He patted you on the back when he needed to, and just knew how to get a lot of his players.
Been a long time, though, since Jeff King has been back.
It really has. And yeah, you talk about Jeff King. He was a big part of that 85 team, was the #1 player drafted in the 1986 draft. I was lucky to play with him, and you talk about a guy that was just a phenomenal player.
Saw the numbers for Christian Fouch as he faces Farmer the 4th.
For Texas fans, Christian Fouch, he's going to come in throwing upper 90s with the fastball. Will throw the splitter as well.
Taking third will be Rodriguez, as Farmer, the fourth, takes ball 2.
I think if you're Texas, you just take till you get a strike.
Fouch will run one up and in. Fouch, no doubt, has overwhelming stuff. I think the one issue sometimes is either harnessing the fastball or not hitting people with the splitty. And obviously, when you come out of the bullpen, you're kind of wondering which version you might see, and obviously hoping for the best. And that wasn't close. So that was a 4-pitch walk, and we have seen all day where walks have been cashed in as the immediate enemy of the pitching staff.
Yeah, I think the thing that Matt Hobbs and they've done with Christian Fouch is because he does the arm slot and the angle of the fingers on the 2-seamer, he gets some tremendous runs. So they've wanted him to try to go back to that 4-seam fastball and, again, just have the catcher set up right over the heart of the plate.
This is Winfield, going to bat for Williams as Farmer will advance. That might be a pair of indifferences here in the 8th inning. Easton Winfield, a home run and 8 knocked in. Fouch finds the strike zone after missing on the first 5.
Took a little something off it. I think that was 100 on TrackMan.
Just dialed it down to 100?
Yeah.
It's an important in the sense that the top of the lineup is looming on deck with Mendoza and Galvan. And with a 5-run lead, it's a cushion, but that could change with more free base runners.
Yeah, you definitely want to get this better here if you're Arkansas and Christian Fouch. You feel like you've had the opportunity to kind of get dialed in and recalibrate.
There's some nervousness right now in the Razorback dugout. There's some unsettled fans that want some of those pitches called a strike, but Fouch has already walked Farmer. He's in danger of walking Winfield. Not close. I don't know what you do. Well, I know one thing will be a quick visit from Hobbs, because I think, Troy, you're understanding that you'd like to see Fouch finish this game. Remember, Carson Wiggins had to walk off the mound holding his arm last weekend, and I think the news is good as far as not having a blowout, but I don't expect him at any point this year.
No.
So now you're down Coyle. Maybe he's back soon, and you're also down Wiggins for probably the duration.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right on Carson Wiggins. But yeah, this is a calming conversation for Matt Hobbs, and again, everything Fouch has missed, it's been up and away from lefties, definitely up in the zone. And you've already got a left-hander throwing down in the bullpen. That looks like Cole Gibbler. And you really just don't want to have to go there if you're Arkansas.
Yeah, that's a freshman. He's been thrown into some big moments without Parker Coyle. And this is Ethan Mendoza. He's hit 5 home runs this season, a couple of walks, a double this afternoon. He really did dial that one back to 98 to get me over strike 1.
Yeah, the stuff is absolutely electric. And you know, you totally understand if you're Texas, you're playing base to base, and you had to make Christian Fouch throw a strike right there.
Mendoza homered last weekend against Texas A&M, batting with the bases full of Longhorns. That's on the corner again. I don't know if Mendoza concurred. The count's 0-2. How many pitches are you willing to waste here versus going after Mendoza?
I think when you throw 100 miles an hour, you just got to go right at him.
I say throw in that same position, outside corner. Fans trying to will Fouch to out number 3. Poke to right. Back goes Bowles with room. A little trepidation, but a catch is made. And Texas leaves the bases loaded. The fans have been on their feet most of the weekend. 12-7 Hawks. Here's your top four in the SEC standings in the remaining series. Texas will have Florida and at Oklahoma. Arkansas always knew their schedule was going to be backloaded with Texas, LSU, and Tennessee. A lot of orange and purple in that sequence. Tennessee and LSU. I believe they're right there, Troy, with those top teams, but I think it's just a little bit of a different tier behind right now, these top two.
Yeah,
that could change.
I definitely think so, and you feel like there's a little bit of separation there. Both these teams are great, and this is going to be really interesting how this end of the season wraps up.
New pitcher for the Longhorns, Jason Flores comes on. He's the fourth for Texas, the eighth we've seen this afternoon.
Yeah, Flores has been one of their starters. He's 4-1 on the season. See his numbers there, really fills up the strike zone. He's got a big-time arm. He's a freshman, 6'1", 245. He's like a fullback. He's going to sit 93 to 96, throws a slider, cutter, and changeup. Again, opponents only hitting 190 off of Jason Flores.
Fullback,
no relation.
you say, right? Sark doesn't have a fullback.
Whew. He's got one right there if he wants it.
I think about fullbacks every time I see those yards of beer that fans have in the stands here at Bon Walker. Brent Iredale, the batter, takes strike one. Couple of walks, couple of runs scored. Five, 6, and 7 in the Razorback eighth inning. Anytime these two teams get together, these two athletic departments in competition, Texas and Arkansas, I know it always conjures up a lot of emotions for the longtime Razorback fans, going back to Hogs and Horns and Nixon's coming. But DVH was posed that question this week, and you know there's nothing better than unfiltered Dave Van Horn. And his
That's
memory,
for sure.
His memory was of a 1981 football game when he was a student on campus, and I think Texas was #1, and Arkansas just put it to him and won that game at Razorback Stadium.
The question was asked, were you participating
Well,
in
it was.
hauling the goalpost down to Dixon Street? And he goes, I didn't do that.
He said, I let the crazies handle that. Now, it was the question I had as well, because there may not be any photographic evidence long before camera phones, but whether or not DVH was part of the hauling of the goalpost down to Dixon Street.
He claimed not to be.
Well, I would too if I was a man of certain responsibility. Iredale might get himself a bloop knock, and he will, and he dumps one out into right. I'm still suspicious that he might have been.
Do you see 21-year-old DVH?
I think there's some rascal in there.
Yeah, a little bit of hijinks in there.
Everybody needs a little bit of a rascal within them. Carson Bowles 0 for 3, but he has walked and, like many people, then scored. First pitch strike from Flores.
Painting the black right there.
As disappointing as it was for Arkansas to lose 3 straight SEC series for the first time since 2016, a sweep would get you back in the plus column, because remember, at one point they ran off 12 straight wins in conference play.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to do. And again, I think both these fan bases expect so much from their team. It's almost like, okay, we're almost invincible. And baseball is one of those tough games.
High fly, playable right center. Starting to carry a little bit. Farmer, the fourth, though, is back near the fence. Gasparino called him off. The ball will fall, bounce over the fence, book rule double, and maybe a communication error. Gasparino had a long run, but Farmer was there, and Arkansas will benefit.
Yeah, I think that is just knowing which way the wind's blowing. And that ball's going to blow back to Farmer, the fourth, and away from Gasparino. You can see, watch how far Gasparino has to go to get this baseball. Farmer's there. He's got a beat on that, and Gasparino just calls him off. And rightfully so. He backs off. Usually the center fielder, they're the captain of the outfield, and that's just a miscue by the Horns.
Texas actually caught a break that had bounced over the fence. Otherwise, Iredale would score. And here's Reese Robinette. Reese Robinette's going to cue one of the shortstop, Flores. He has one play. That's first. He'll throw at Robinette, who picks up RBI number 6 today. And Troy, the fans like the Heston Kjerstad left-handed swing or the left-handed Vahiva Loy. And that wasn't necessarily pretty, but boy, Reese will take another RBI. Had 2 all season. He's had 6 this afternoon.
What about the contact? Not only just the day he's had, but just how hard he's hit the baseball. Brett, that was 104, a ground ball the other way.
Yeah, probably hit harder than I thought, so Helfrich will bat. Couple of walks, couple of runs scored. 13-7 Razorbacks, maybe a lucky number here today. And what does that give them now? 28 runs this weekend? Check swing dribbler again to first. There was a little involved in that play. Schussler flipping to Flores, covering for the second out as Bowles advances to third.
Schussler looked like a hockey goalie on that one.
Yes.
He got down on the hands and knees and was not going to let that funky spin get underneath him. And I tell you what, you don't have to look pretty making plays. You just got to make the play.
There's Thomas Jr. He had one of the 5 Razorback homers, a 2-run homer in the 4th.
I think I got him.
Clipped that one, so the free base runners, Troy, continue.
Longhorn hitters hit 5 batters yesterday. This is just one of those weekends, I think, that the pitching staff for the Longhorns are just going to have to flush it. It happens. It's just baseball.
32 combined walks and hit by pitches. And you know, it's such a good pitching staff, and they pitch in a pitcher's park at Dish Fall. I would say as offensive as this ballpark can be, we've seen it today. It necessarily wasn't that way on Friday and Saturday, but it still plays really different than Austin. But when you put base runners on for free in front of some big-time swings, and this man had one just last inning, it's a recipe for disaster. Davalon hit his 13th homer, 410 feet up on top of the building, that turned a 9-7 game into a 12-7 breathing room effort for Arkansas. That's to Flores. He'll step on the pillow at second, and the inning ends. Arkansas adds a run. Texas has some work to do to avoid a sweep in the top of the 9th. Troy, that would be a 15-yard penalty in football, but that's in one of the suites, and I would say that took some work, didn't it?
Yeah, that's effort right there, and I tell you what, it shows, like you've talked about, what this fan base, especially older fans, the old Southwest Conference fans, think of this rivalry, and I don't think it's Texas's biggest rivalry, but
no.
back in the day, it was always Arkansas's, and it's almost a tribute when another program really wants to beat you. It's a tribute of how good you are and how consistent you've been. And that's what the Longhorns have been in baseball for a long, long time.
Heart of the lineup here in the top of the 9th inning. Fouch back out there, pumping a strike to Galvan at 98. Arkansas with a win today would match their best 24 start in SEC play at 17-7. So I know the sky at times felt like it was falling, but a win would equal that best start in league action. Now, a couple of days ago, Arkansas got its 28th win at home, marking 8 straight seasons. Every year I've been with you, they have won at least 28 games here at Baum Walker.
It's one thing to do that at home. It's one thing to do that in the SEC. When you play the kind of talent that this league produces, it's just phenomenal.
Wave and a miss by Galvan. And again, today would be the 30th W at home. So that would be the 7th 30-win home season since Baum Walker opened in 1996.
And what is there normally 30, anywhere from 33, 34 to 36 home games?
That's just it.
I mean, there's not a lot of margin for error.
It's down in the dirt. This would make him 30-3 at home.
That was the splitter right there. He's tried to throw a couple splitters to Galvan and hadn't landed either one of them yet.
Texas led early 3-0. They led 4-2. Hogs have had 5 home runs, 5 multi-run homers. Fouled directly back over the screen and out of play.
It's really good numbers for Galvan this season. I tell you what, anytime a catcher can put up numbers like that after getting just beat to a pulp behind the plate is so impressive.
Sinton, Texas native. High fly down the line and right. Bulls will have a play. There's just a little uncomfortable nature tracking those fly balls, but he put it away.
Yeah, the breeze is really playing with those baseballs out there, but yeah, the ball's carried out there to right field, and Carson Bowles has made a couple of those plays look a little interesting. I think that's the politically correct way to say it.
You know, when you throw an infielder out there, and you're like, just catch it. Jalen Flores, a 3-run homer back in the 3rd. We believe Carter would be in line for the win, and Fouch trying to shut the door. Arkansas trying to win its 30th game at home and its 40th game of the season. Even in the stretch where they lost those 3 straight series, and they really should have won in Georgia. They had a lead with 2 outs and nobody on base, bottom of the 11th on Sunday, lose it. Got outplayed by A&M, outplayed on Sunday at Florida. But they didn't fall much in the rankings, even when I think people thought they might be outside the top 8, top 10. Well, that 3-game sweep of Texas jumps you right back out of that conversation for one of the top 4, 5, 6 teams in the country.
I'd have to think so. I mean, I think you have to probably be at least 6. I'd be a little shocked if they didn't jump up that much.
Two on a little bit outside. Of course, the polls fluctuate anywhere from, I think, 5 to 11. That's some variation. Stroked high and foul down the line and right, and this will find its way into the seats. Not many have left on whatever day this is, Saturday or Sunday.
make you just pick what you want.
I mean, either I'm going to get 2 Sundays or 2 Saturdays and a Sunday. Shadows creeping across home plate now in the sunshine. Another play for Bulls and right. Another one that's going to carry to the fence and beyond. A home run from Flores. His 2nd of the game. His 12th of the year in Texas. Not going away quietly in the 9th inning.
Yeah, really good swing by Flores, and I think that's what you have to do on a guy like Christian Fouch, is just take that ball the other way. That's the way the wind's blowing. Had some really nice backspin on that, and it's easier said than done to put some backspin on the baseball. And look at that pitch on the outside corner. Not a bad pitch. It was elevated a little bit, but it's where you want to throw a 2-strike pitch. It's not right down the middle, and he just deposited that one for a nice swing.
Fans here having some fun with the Longhorns after big swings. They do the slow, dramatic clap over their heads with their hands. So Schussler takes strike 1, and a lot of fans clapping along with the Longhorns as Flores rounded the bases. I guess you can do that when the lead is still 5. If it tightens up more, it may not be as much fun.
That's right.
As much at times as the pitching's had a couple of games that have been rough in this stretch, Arkansas had shutouts in 4 of 6 games before they gave up just 1 run yesterday. They had a chance to make it 5 of 7 shutouts.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And again, it talks about what the starting pitching has done this weekend, and that's Christian Fouch is really struggling to land that splitter today. And
he's a one-pitch pitcher right now.
Yeah, right now he is. And
it's a good thing it's 99.
Because the splitter, he just does not have any command of it. But you're right. The starting pitching for Arkansas was just outstanding, and then the relievers that have come in done a really nice job.
It shows you how important winning Friday nights is to winning series. And I've been blessed since I've been here. My first year, 2018, Blaine Knight was undefeated. And then you roll into the Isaiah Campbell's and Wicklander, and then you have Kevin Kopp's finishing games on Fridays. Then you have Hagen Smith's. It wasn't automatic, but it was darn close.
Yeah, it really was. It was I think the Arkansas fans got really spoiled there.
Yes.
And there's a good look at Zach Root, and gosh, 8 innings, 2 hits. I mean, you can't do much better than that.
He said Vahiva gave him a haircut the other day. Good haircut. That's strike 3, outside corner. Texas down to its final out in the 9th in this weekend.
I don't know how much Vahiva took off of it because there's still a lot of hair on
Meat
the
on the
back
bone?
of Zach Root. That is. It looks like it's on the outside corner. I mean, you saw that Helfrich kind of try to pull that one back a little bit.
Gasparino is one of the Texas home runs this afternoon. Fans on their feet here at Baum Walker. Probably 34,000-ish over the course of these 3 games. And they're going to head home happy after 1 more out. Fouled back over the screen and out of play, and the Longhorns are down to their final strike or out in the series. And the decibel level will ramp up a little bit more here at Baum Walker.
I want to see if Fouch doesn't try to go back with the 0-2 count to throw that splitter just to see if he can't land one.
Just for the sport of it?
Yeah, the confidence level.
I agree.
I think that's, if I'm Helfrich, that's what I do.
Horns down to their final strike. Wave and a miss. Winds have traveled in 3s this weekend. The Hogs post a clean sweep of the #1 ranked Longhorns. And a party that'll last into the night. There is nothing Arkansas fans enjoy more than W's over Texas.
That's a huge statement right there. The first sweep of a #1 team since 2001. And there's going to be better weekends for the Longhorns. They really just kind of shot themselves in the foot with a lot of free base runners by their pitching staff. Again, they get a couple guys back from injury, and that offense is going to change. But that is a big, big weekend for Arkansas, especially after dropping 3 straight series.
30th win at home, 40th of the season. Troy, that'll do it for us, but another successful home campaign for the Razorbacks. I believe we're going to have a chance to catch up to Reese Robinette, who had the homer in the 4th that tied the game, and a 3-run homer in the 5th that was an absolute no-doubter, and picked up RBI number 6 on a ground out in the 8th inning. And the fans not ready to leave just yet because of the enjoyment. It just doesn't happen very often when there's a sweep in SEC play, let alone against a #1 ranked team.
Again, it just shows how big it is to try to take down a series from the #1 team in the country.
Hogs waiting for Reese Robinette, who's going to put the headset on and join us. And 6 runs batted in today for Reese. Reese, I know you've had to be patient this year and kind of wait for your time. How satisfying is it? What does it feel like to be part of such a huge win and sweep?
Yeah, it was great. You know, the atmosphere here this weekend was amazing. Teammates had my back the whole weekend, and it was just a great time.
You know, Reese, I just want to see, you've really been seeing the baseball well for about the past couple weeks.
making some really hard contact. What's been your approach and the difference?
Yeah, it's mainly just trying to, look the other way, stay confident, and just be patient at the plate.
I was going to say hit it to Foghorns because you had the 2-run homer in the 4th. Tell me how much fun the 5th inning homer was, because you stood there, you admired, you knew that was going to sail out of the ballpark.
Yeah, that one was fun. My reactions kind of took over, and I just kind of enjoyed it for a second, and then I took off.
Talk about just what the bounce back for this team is. I mean, just the confidence level that you guys have, that you know we're a good team, and it was just a matter of time to put it all together.
Yeah, it was great. We know we're a good team. When we put it all together, it works out great.
Hey, Reese, the parents were here this weekend, right?
Yes, sir, they were.
I know they enjoyed it. Hey, thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
There he goes, 6 runs batted in, 2 homers. What a moment for Reese Robinette. And Arkansas takes care of the Texas Longhorns. So that'll do it for another season of SEC Network Plus broadcasts. Reese Robinette, part of a 13-8 Razorback win. Hogs will be in LSU next Friday, 7:30 Eastern Time, also on Plus. So for Troy Eklund and our entire outstanding crew, I'm Brett Dolden, thanking you for tuning in. Once again, our final score, Hogs take down the Horns 13-8. They sweep the series. So long, good afternoon from Baum Walker Stadium.